Josh Hunter, Director of Finance.
Charles Schwab, Director of Public Works.
And I'm Carol Van Slyke. I'm here as a board member from the Dixonville Library, and this is
Louise Brister, Library Manager.
Okay, welcome, and we have the PowerPoint on our screens here, so we can follow along with you.
Okay. Good afternoon. On behalf of the board and the Dixonville community, I would like to thank you for your support to our library. We've had many changes in 2024 and 25, so Carol and I would like to update you on the status of the Dixonville Library. So slide 2, I've introduced myself. I took on the library manager position December 3rd. We had been without a library manager since July of 24. So Tamara Klein, our board chair at the time, kept the library open as a voluntary position in the summer and the fall. And I volunteered with her for 3 hours a week to help out. I had worked at the library for 1 year in 2023 with Kaylee Russell, then manager. So I had excellent knowledge of the library workings. In the past few months, I have had substantial training. I attended manager training on April 16th. And I attended the library managers meeting on May 29th. And the next day there was the Open Books, Open Mind conference. And these all took place at the Peace Library System in Grand Prairie. I will be attending the Stronger Together Library Conference in Edmonton, October 8th and 9th. And my focus will be to network and attend talks on how to increase community involvement, as well as collaborating with other small libraries to make an impact. Slide 3 on the board. In December of last year, we had 2 members who retired. So the Dixonville Community Library Society currently has 5 members. And the chair position is currently open. So we have a special meeting July 3rd to recruit more members. Slide 4. I am constantly working on programming ideas to include everyone in our community. I have Craft for Kids on the first Tuesday of the month after school. And some of these pictures are examples of what we did in the spring to get everybody excited for the gardening season. And in February, I collaborated with the Dixonville Life Ag Society to put on the trivia night after their bonspiel. And we had Sharon from Berwyn 50th Avenue workshop to facilitate a glass fusion workshop, which was thoroughly enjoyed by everybody. I also facilitate jazz sessions and card games on Thursday evenings for families and older members of our community. Slide 5. For the summer months, the library is hosting the TD Summer Reading Program, July 21st to 25th. I will also be accessing programming kits from the PLS just to add variety to our summer activities for the kids. In the fall, I plan to do some science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programming for children, as well as crafts. I would like to increase our membership by doing presentations about what exactly is offered at the library with a track card and the ability to access all the resources there. I also plan to collaborate with the Peace River Art Hub to get people in to do paint night for us, as well as community members who would like to share what they are passionate about. Slide 6. I printed off statistics from the last time we had an update here in February. I think it was January 24th to June 12th. Our circulation counts, those are books for the last 16.5 months. It was 1,651 items, not necessarily different books, but that's how many books were circulated. Our active patrons are a little bit low, and withdrawal numbers are a little bit low also. I kind of think that's because of the interruption we had with staff and hours. So hopefully we can get that back up with a little imagination and a little bit of work to get parents in with their kids. We have over 4,000 print items in stock and 600 non-print items in stock. That said, e-resources have become much more popular. In the last year, there were 846 ebooks, e-audiobooks, and e-magazines accessed by our patrons. Currently, we have one bursary application, and last year we awarded 2 bursaries to students in our Ward 3. Now I'd like to ask Carol to speak about the library's future.
Okay, so first of all, joining us through online, we do have our representative from the Peace Library System is listening in on our conversation. So she's available to us if we need to ask her something. We have a lot of unknowns happening to us right now. We already know that the school division has closed the Dixonville School. The plans for the Dixonville School are up in the air. One of the plans is to open a charter school. Should that go forward, they won't be able to open until 2026 in September because of the process in order to become a chartered school. So it will not happen in September. We will need to vacate the school according to the lease contract. I think you guys have a letter at the end of December. We don't know what is going to happen. So we need to find out. So PLS is going to be sending some letters to clarify some questions for us. The Peace Library System, PLS. PRSD, the Peace Service School Division, the letter to them is going to be talking about the date that we have to leave. We are very concerned. It's all revolving around the SuperNet. We can't run the library without having access to the SuperNet. Because we've been a part of the school, we've had access to the fiber optic that the school has, and that was acceptable to the library system. We can't just move into another building, bring in Starlink and go. That's not how it's done. We have to have access to the SuperNet. So they're going to be contacting Peace Service School Division, PLS is, to decide on the actual date. The next thing that came up, of course, is furniture. Like we're using all the bookshelves that are owned by PRSD. Our tables are owned by PRSD. A bunch of our computers are owned by PRSD. So we're going to have to come to some sort of agreement with them, perhaps, as to whether or not some of these things can be left with us. They're also going to contact the Department of Education in order to see what the plan exactly is for the building. So no school starts in September. So the building's going to sort of be closed. We're going to, the question is there going to be power? Is there going to be access to the to the SuperNet? Is there going to be heat? Is there, all of that, who's paying for all of that? Like, is the school division paying for that? Like a lot of unknown questions, really. The Peace River Library System is going to be meeting on July 26th. They're hoping to have the answers from these locations by then in order to help guide us in our next steps. So that brings us to location. Ideally, in the perfect world, we would stay right where we're at. We have a good space. It functions well for our library. We have the SuperNet. All of those things are there, but we're only one little tiny piece of the larger building. If it were the charter schools coming and they would like to partner with us, they've indicated that they're interested in doing so. Should that be the case? That doesn't happen for another year. So that's our ideal location. Not sure if we actually will be allowed to stay there until September of 2026. that part's really not clear. We could move to a new site. So you look around in Dixonville and you say, all right, so if we go to a new site, we have to have a supernet. So the government, and they use the of Alberta, so the PLSB is responsible to pay for us to get that supernet once. So if we move to a temporary location and they pay for us to have it there, and we have to move again, then we are on the hook for more than $100,000 to get it in. So that's rather terrifying, to be honest. So any move we make, it's got to be permanent. Otherwise, this is going to really be a large amount of money. Within the actual hamlet of Dixonville, we're just looking around where are our choices. There is the senior drop-in center, but it's quite well used. I mean, there's a number of things that happen at the drop-in center. There has been some drop in some of the seniors membership, but it's not gone. And if we were to move in there and suddenly, then where do the seniors go when they do want to, revitalize? So that's a big concern. There is no room in the multiplex area, nothing that looks really viable for what a library would need. We can't think of any other buildings that are presently in existence in the hamlet that would make sense for us. There's always, of course, the possibility of a new building, like bringing in a trailer or something like that, but we have not done any exploration in that direction. So what we do know is our move has to be permanent, and we don't know where we're moving to or whether or not we can stay where we're at. So with all of these unknowns on the horizon, with some answers hopefully coming soon, we will have some idea about what our future is. And so this is sort of the heads up moment. We're just telling you, our county councillors, that we may be back when we have some of these questions answered, and we may be looking for some sort of assistance. But in this moment, we don't even know what we need. It's so we're so unsure. Do any of you have any questions that I could endeavor to answer?
Thanks, Louise and Carol. Such a shame. I mean, the obvious choice to me, stay where you're at, right? You got a functioning library, you've got a good building, but I mean, it's kind of out of your hands. So I think we need, so you said by July 26th, school division should have some answers.
Well, the school division, I believe, has their answers, but then I think they have to turn the building over to Alberta Ed, who I think then turns the building over to Alberta Infrastructure. And then they will need to make some decisions. So the public library system is going to be chasing that down to find out what the final resting place is, possibly Alberta Infrastructure, and see what they are willing or not willing to do. For all we know, they're going to bulldoze it. We really have no idea.
I mean, that's your typical pattern when they close the school, is they just demolish it, right? They don't think about the broader picture of how it affects the community. So I don't know what the charter school, like what their, I would assume their hopes is to take that school over.
Yes, it is.
That would solve everything, right? If they would collaborate with the library, but
well, they're interested in collaborating with the library, but again, we're dealing with this not functioning till for a full year. So during that time, I don't know who's going to be responsible for the building.
So currently you don't have to be out of there
Till December.
first.
That's right.
So the charter school, once we get our application in, which will hopefully be either by the end of next week or the week after, like our plan was our goal was for the end of June. And then, once they receive it, once Alberta, Alberta Ed receive it, it's 3 months. They said 3 months, we would know one way or another. Likely before the 3 months.
So September, October, November.
So then
No, July, August, September then.
By September, and then we would be able to let you know. And then also, I guess, when we do our application, we did include that we want to offer it to play school and keep the current library
Mhm,
going. So that could be, we could support or include more detail with that you guys need to know.
mhm.
And then hopefully from there, we can figure things out.
Yeah.
Because I would think once, the charter school has approval, they would have access to the building.
And then,
Because
then
then we would
would the
be able to
charter
start.
school volunteer group be the ones that would be responsible for like making sure that the lights are on and the heat's happening and
Yes, I believe so, but like, yeah, we're not sure on a bunch of things like that.
right?
Currently, we're thinking, like they said, another group could own the buildings, just like,
Mhm,
the Egg Society,
mhm.
and we would
Rent from them.
rent from them, or we would pay the utilities. Or send them, rent from them, and they would look out for the maintenance and the utilities.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the ideal solution. That's what we would, that in our happy world,
Yeah.
that's what we want. But we're concerned that, you know, but you'll have an answer long before December. So that would be
Yes,
good.
Yeah, no.
Well, not
So.
much time, really. I mean,
No.
it's, because I mean, all of a sudden they come to decisions, say, no, and then what? Then you're kind of.
Then we've got very little bit of time to do anything.
No, and I mean, to move that super net, like, I don't understand how critical that is, like, like, to move it to the wrong place and then have to move it again a year later, makes no sense, right? So, I mean, if you say you went to the Golden Age Center for intern, can you function without it?
No, we're not allowed to, like, it gets a requirement of the Alberta government that we must have SuperNet for a public library.
Yeah, so again, that's a bureaucratic decision that, you know, sometimes you wonder if there's exceptions to it, that they could say, well, we understand your circumstances. And I mean, say if you went to the Golden Age Center for a year, until the charter school got sorted out. And you had to have a supernet there, and then also the charter school said, yeah, we're on board, going back here again. Well, then who's gonna pay to move it back?
Well, I think, I don't think that, but by moving it, it doesn't actually leave the Dixonville school.
The fiber stays there.
It would stay there and something different would be going into the location. And then we would have to get permission from the public library system as to whether or not the internet that's being provided at the charter school is at the same level as it should be, which you'd expect it would be, because they're using the same fiber optic stuff. But we'd have to get permission. So that became clear yesterday. Yesterday, we met with PLS and we're discussing our options. And it became clear with that their technology, that their Department of Technology has to be involved in, no matter where we end up located.
POS does.
Yes, and so if we aren't in compliance with them, then we're kind of out of luck. So.
Could the charter school maybe use a letter of support from these library systems? Certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that we'd be happy to write letters. I think we've
Yeah,
already.
we were supposed to have one written already. Yeah,
Society,
yeah.
so, not the elders.
Yeah, I could ask them. And our connection at PLS is, her name is Louisa. Not our Louise. And I have her phone number. Would you like that?
Join us online now.
Oh, she's online. There you go. Okay.
Yes, Linda's our council representative of POS.
Oh, okay.
So she attends their meetings and sits on their executive, or he did, I don't know, so
Okay.
so we're connected with them and,
Excellent. So you'll be able to,
Yeah, just ask the Louise.
so Louisa, I understand you're online, I can't see you, but, I don't know if you heard the conversation from the Dixonville board.
I'm afraid I was late getting on. My apologies for that.
Okay.
But we
So-
have had meetings in the past, yes.
Yeah, Rich,
We were actually talking yesterday about this very topic.
so we're just kind of wondering if PLS would write a letter of support to the Charter School Society, you know, indicating their desire to, you know, collaborate with the charter school, should it go ahead. And, you know, to keep that space there for our library.
Are you referring to keeping the public library in the charter school or services to the charter school?
Public library, well, the county library, I guess, which is considered a public library, right?
Yes. I can bring that up to the board for certain and ask them for, if they would, write a letter for support for that, sure.
I think that would help, and, I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna lay in the hands of the Alberta government, whether it's Alberta Ed or infrastructure, what they wanna do with the building. But, right now, it kind of leaves the library kind of in no man's land there, you know, they're gonna close the doors at the end of the year. And, so yeah, I think that's not that, I mean, it sounds like we're only in June, but it's approaching faster than we want. If we have to find another space, so.
Okay, I will bring that up to the board.
Louisa, can you explain why they need to have the SuperNet?
The SuperNet is integral to the functioning of public libraries within the Alberta system because all of the provincial resources that are supplied to public libraries are supplied through the SuperNet. If the libraries are not on SuperNet, they can't access those resources. In addition, the system runs its own resources on the government SuperNet, the public library's SuperNet. So if through that SuperNet connection, we at PLS can monitor the security and safety of the equipment, we can monitor the usage of the integrated library system, the Polaris system. And anything that goes wrong, we can fix over that system rather than having to send someone out all the time. First of all, it makes it very convenient and very cost effective to use those systems. And B, it keeps the library connected to all of the rest of the libraries that are within our system and within our consortium in the TRAC consortium. Without that connection, the sharing of resources becomes a lot more onerous, very, very difficult because you can't see excuse me, you can't see directly what it is they've got and make the borrowing within the system. You have to go outside of the public library system in order to do any resource sharing that way. It's a very integral way of having the public libraries in Alberta function.
Thanks for that explanation. Because that's gonna be a factor in moving ahead, you know, sounds like we get one kind of free move to a new location if that's the desire or the need. But then if you want to move again, then the cost is on the library, which in this case would be funded by the county, so that's you know, a fairly big figure to consider.
It is, it's a rather scary figure. When the SuperNet system was coming into being, when it was being connected to all the libraries, the agreement was that all libraries would be connected for the first time to the SuperNet on the government's dime. Now, since most of the libraries are already connected, ones that are going to be connected to the SuperNet system are connected to that SuperNet system, then the amount of connections has gone down quite a lot, which means that the budget for that is no longer new systems, it's for maintenance. Now, there's very few libraries that are going onto the SuperNet system now because the ones that didn't before were on school SuperNets. Or didn't have SuperNet at all, in which case they're not functioning as well as they should be. The last one that we had in our system was 2 years ago, and that was Brownvale. And it took quite a long time to argue the government around to agreeing with us that it was a first time connection, and that they should be footing the bill for that. And that bill turned out to be about $85,000 2 years ago. I'm sure this has already been brought up, but the further the connection is moved, the more expensive it is. The further or the more tunneling underground or whatever that has to be done, the more expensive it is. The time of the year makes a difference because they don't work over the winter. So it has to be done during good weather. So the wait can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months or sometimes longer, depending on how long it takes to get the planning and the infrastructure into place. And those bills are running up into 6 figures right now. I know of one that's going on in Chinook Arch System right now that's going to be in the neighborhood of $175,000 just because of the distance it's moving. And it's not that really that far. It's only about a block or two.
Insane. So, yeah, I mean, that, and then we've seen the letter too, and that just adds to the complexity. That if for some reason the charter school doesn't come to an agreement with Albert Infrastructure, whoever's in charge of that building, and then we have to find an alternate location. Well, now we're into winter, so that means no supernet until spring, which would, could be a 5-month lag there, so that, yeah. Well, let's just hope, I think the best case scenario that Kara outlined would be that the charter school gets control of the building and collaborates with the library, and everything kind of remains the same, right? So the sooner we can get that information, the better off we'll be, but otherwise we're gonna have to start looking for some alternate solutions. So so again, you said, I wrote down July 26th.
July, yep, 26th, you're correct.
Did you have a answer from the school board?
Louisa was hoping to have an answer from all of the letters that she's gonna be writing to the Department of Education and the school division. And was there any other letters, Louisa, that you were writing? I know those two for sure.
Yes, I sent a letter to the school division yesterday. I have not yet received an answer. There'll also be letters going from our board to the Dixon Advisory Council, just as a formal request to ask what is your hope for going forward. There will also be one going to County of Northern Lights asking the same questions, and one going to your MLA asking for them to connect us with somebody at Alberta Education or possibly Alberta Infrastructure that we can connect with to maybe try to bridge some of these services until such time as there's a decision made.
So, but so she's hoping to have all of those answers for July 26th for the meeting that Linda will be in.
That'll be the PLS meeting.
Yes.
And then they can, yeah.
That's the hope.
That's the hope. That's what we're going for.
So then, we had a meeting schedule. We kind of have a limited meeting schedule over the summer. We have a meeting on not till August. The 26th.
It's a month after.
So it'd kind of be nice to, I guess by email, we can kind of get a, see what your board decides. And see if we're gonna have to action something then.
And I'm sure that if there's anything that has come about, we can always come and do an informational conversation like this again in August.
Right. So I missed what Louisa said, her list of support letters requesting one from the county. Have we already done that, or?
No, it hasn't been written yet. I will get it out to you hopefully by the end of this week.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, we definitely will support the charter school and having the library move in there, or not move in, remain there. I mean, even up until the end of December, I don't know what it's gonna look like as a school division. When they're in such financial straits, they say, are they gonna turn the temperature down and board the windows up, or they might not be closing it officially.
Well, and the thing is that it might not even be the school divisions anymore because the building might be turned over to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it would really be the school division to speak to as far as that part goes.
We'll have to put some pressure on our MLA and to make sure that doesn't happen, so.
The one for school of Slows and King Rivers has never been turned over to anybody, and it's still.
Northland School.
That's one hospital.
Hmm.
So I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know if they work different than
And
East River School Division, and then we're the same mandate or not. I don't know.
Well, Northlands, are they sort of federal or are they provincial?
it's both,
That's what I thought.
yeah,
So they might have some different rules that they might actually own that then.
they still do, but they have it for sale. That's what most schools do.
Any other questions, council? Well, thanks for your time.
We may see you again in August.
Yeah. Well, you got us in the corner. I think. We want to start building schools and bringing SuperNet over, so, or building libraries, I should say, and even just to buy an Apple trailer and set it up, it's not.
Oh, it's not cheap.
Not cheap, and.
No.
Why would you want to give up such a beautiful spot, you know? And even the furniture, like you said, the furniture, the computers and.
Well,
That's just,
Louisa is going to be requesting that we can keep some of it, like,
I mean, they're closing down the schools in Manning here now, and they're basically garage sale and giving stuff away. Anybody wants desks or, you know, office supplies come. I don't know what they're talking about, I heard it's relatively cheap, so.
mhm.
You would think they'd almost turn it all into library, whatever you've got there now. And,
Well, that is our hope.
Yeah.
That is what we're kind of counting on, but nevertheless, you know, we acknowledge it's not actually ours. So we need to give it to us. All right,
Okay,
thank you
thanks.
very
Thank
much
you.
for your attention.
Next evolution was at 1:45. I've got 10 minutes, so let's just go through a couple other items before that. We can move down to 6.1.1, item A is the Peace Regional Mental Health Task Force Committee Workshop and a municipal check-in.
Yeah, so after our workshop, we got back together. I think I agreed council and we were kind of unsure what the future was gonna be like, and it was kind of contingent on how well that workshop went and what the direction was gonna be. So we've been asked as members to bring these questions back to our councils, get some feedback and take them back. So they just kind of want to know what's gone well, how's it benefited, is it benefiting? What are the challenges, what needs to change, and ultimately, do we think that it should continue? So given that a majority of those meetings are done in closed session due to the I guess, private issues that are discussed, and we have people in their personal stories, so we don't generally have them open to the public. It's kind of hard to gauge. So just looking for council's feedback on what you think. I have my thoughts, but
Yeah.
for yours.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
attended the meeting, so I guess we're kind of going on your
Yeah.
word and I.
Yeah, I feel like it was always boring because it was the downtown disorder in Peace River that really started it. Now with the shelter being closed, we're seeing it branch out, you know, Brownville's seeing a lot of it, Grimshaw's seeing a lot of it, where it's starting to be fanning out now that Peace River isn't allowed to be the hub, so. I think it's really important. I think we're still doing really good work. I still think we're doing really good advocacy. We still have resolutions on the RMA and AM floors right now that they're still working through and that aren't timed out. I feel like we really needed that workshop to really catapult us into really clear, defined advocacy roles, and I feel like it really did. That being said, I think there's things that I won't talk about openly, but there's definitely some other councils and things that need to have their conversations and their feedback, and it'll be interesting to see what all of those are. But from my position, I think if we can keep marching forward at the same momentum that we did going into the solution workshop, that we'll be in way better shape.
So that's more positive than a couple months ago when there was really to resolve because there was no support.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 100%. I can honestly say I was questioning for a while, and I feel like we really put in the work, and I feel like we just needed to really wasn't as structured of a committee as it needed to be, and I feel like we're really honing in. We're discussing our terms of reference again because those were done such a long time ago that it's like we really need to hone in and focus and have clear direction. So my position would be to see how it goes till the fall and give the workshop a chance to produce some results.
Well, that's good.
But if there's any other things that you guys are hearing or would like to know, I'm happy to talk about them, minus the things that are in closed session, obviously. I can't talk about.
So just refresh, who's all members of the committee?
So it's the MUPs. There's Village of Berwyn, finally, we never had them before, like, it's just been the last few months.
Yeah.
Town of Grimshaw, Town of Peace River, Northern Sunrise, and us.
Okay, so in our immediate region again, like.
Yep, and then we still have our contact, the Recovery Alberta manager for addictions and mental health is still sitting on there. We still have EMS at the table, we have Canadian Mental Health at the table. So we do have some other
Mhm.
outside government agencies.
Okay, any questions? Okay, if there's no other questions for Kayla, we'll just get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the verbal report. Okay, Councillor Beckman, all in favor? Very good. Okay, item B, microphones and sound system in the council chambers.
This is Councillor Shug's ranting again.
And this is something we talked about before, that we kind of visit other council chambers and
Yeah.
we're kind of still a couple decades behind them, it seems sometimes, and
As we have the humming buzz. Yeah, and I brought this forward just because I felt like we've had all these off the cuff conversations, but we've never had a firm motion direction to go. And so the ones that I propose is like, can we start investigating and looking at what we need to do? Maybe if the cost is too high, we need to bring it back to budget time, that's great. But I think maybe we need to start the investigation process, because I know lots of us have attended on Zoom, trying to watch them back is horrible. And I think it's important that they do some work. So I'd like to see us look into something.
Well, just some comments. So we got the local people to have a look at it. They say it was totally out of their scope and capabilities. If we want to get people from either Grand Prairie or the city, it's probably going to cost us some money to get them in. So if there's a formal motion from the council, then we can probably use that. Second alternative from those, we could probably put it out on tender. But typically, if you put these things out on tender, it's a high budget item. It's not a low budget item. And the spin-off out of this, I mean, if we look at the number of viewers of this, I mean, it's the value of the money that we spend on it. Is it worthwhile? It's a council decision on that one, but we probably on average see five to 10 viewers,
Yeah.
if that.
But probably because it's terrible.
Yes.
So I can't hear it.
And alternatively, it makes a barrier for us who have to zoom into a council meeting, because sometimes it is very hard to hear and understand, and then you lose the conversation and then you're like, okay, well, now I can't participate as a councilor member either, right?
Is it just audio though, or is it more than that?
No, it's just the audio. Which I should probably turn on
So
that, right?
well, that doesn't do anything. Those
No.
mics in front of you are not connected to Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna help with that. That helps for this room. You're then speaking through a mic, through speakers into another mic. So that,
Mhm.
those are kind of pointless.
Okay.
There's other council chambers that have had things as simple as just multiple little mics placed in front of you that can be connected to whoever is running the Zoom meeting. Might be an option, but I don't know how they're gonna work in this room until we try them. Can't try them without buying them. Right? Those aren't thousands and thousands of dollars. They're fairly inexpensive, but
Yeah, and the other thing is also just even in the room. Hearing,
Mhm.
if we don't know, we'll try to.
And even the visual,
Try and be close to.
the visual, that up there though, sucks for these guys probably. People on Zoom can see that clearer than you can because it's
Yeah.
broadcasted right over the computer,
yeah,
right?
But I mean,
It's just like I can't even read that from here personally, but.
I mean, we've had meetings in here, like the water policy, for example, we have people in here trying to do a PowerPoint and shutting lights off to try to see it. And so when you go, and again, going back to Caleb said, go to other chambers or other meeting rooms and there's a big LED or whatever kind of monitor there is there, it's just crystal clear, you can see. And so, I mean, it's simple to me, I mean, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 to buy that monitor and connect it to your system. And so getting back to putting it for tender, that's tough to do, because we don't know what we want to tender, right?
Yeah.
What are you gonna put out there? Fix our AV system, you know?
But you try,
Reach out to other, councils and see what they've got that works well, and, you know, kind of quiz them on how they set it up.
Did it or how they did it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my feeling too, like maybe feel it out, see what we can do. I think it just needs to be addressed, especially if we want to have, people involved, and now people seem to, you know, with issues in the elections and all that kind of stuff coming, it would be nice for people to be able to engage and hear us and.
It may come down to a budget item, right? But-
100%,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you tried microcomputers plus?
No, no, sure. We tried them locally in Manning.
They, well, they set up the one at the landfill, but that's a much smaller scale, but
Yeah, that's,
we still have.
I hear what Councillor Reeve says, but I mean, it's all dependent on the room, so you can probably piggyback of some design ideas from other people, but it is very room specific. We've got a fairly big room, so you're gonna lose a lot of people in the distance that you, if you call it that. Right. There's definitely options that we could further invest in that.
Well, maybe in your spare time. You can reach out to some of the CEOs, like we've seen in East, we've seen Northern Sunrise.
Those microphone systems that Josh referred to, we use them in the area of opportunity, so it is a camera system with two speakers, it's two fairly big speakers that you use, that you can face one towards council and one towards the audience. And the speakers is actually, you can extend multiple microphones, not speakers, but microphones, so you can extend the microphones by buying them in bulk packets of 3. So, and I think you can have up to 12 or something like that. So there's plenty of speaker or microphones that you can put out. The integration into the sound system is just something that we have to check.
Yeah, but that's not as big as a problem. Like for the most part, we can hear you guys in this room. It's more so that like no one online can hear you saying it, right? So as long as they're integrated
part
into the
I can
digital
fix with
part.
that other system. Another system was like, I think it was $4,500 or $5,000. It's a lot of money, but it worked well. And it was also, we made it portable, so we had like a big plastic tough case that you put it in and you could actually move it to the different. We had a delegation meeting somewhere else every time, so we moved that and used that as a delegation.
Okay, so I'd be prepared to make the motion to go ahead and have you reach out and do some work and see what you can find.
Quick audio/visual, I would say. Right, Caitlin?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Councillor Shutt has made that motion. Any questions, more discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we can back up on the agenda to 4.0 delegations. Item B was an addition. We have Impact Assessment in Canada with us. We're gonna do roughly a 30-minute presentation. Not gonna be a Q&A session, it'll be strictly a presentation. Any questions? They'll leave their contact information and we can reach out directly to them. So I don't know, there's quite a number of you, our delegation table, whoever wants to come and gather around, you're all welcome to.
Yep, it'll just be the 2 of us who will come up to present, and we're also happy to take questions if you would like.
Oh, okay,
We can do that,
okay.
of the council.
That was not the information I was given, but if that's, if we're comfortable with that, that's.
Yep, we've covered with our.
We typically, on delegations, we don't have we have questions from council, and that's it.
Yep, questions from council.
But not, yeah. Okay, well, come on up then, whoever's, got all been told.
Oh, yeah.
So familiar faces from last evening's town hall, but, we will introduce ourselves. And then you guys can introduce yourselves, even though, say the people
Perfect.
Just have the discussion about technology here, so.
Oh, yes, very timely.
Okay, I'm gonna start to my immediate right, and then we'll work our way across the council table and.
Brent Reese, Denton, welcome.
Now this game from June Ward 7. Teresa, executive assistant.
I'm guys thinking of the CEO. Welcome.
Terry Ungarian, Hotchkiss, Hot Hills.
Gloria Decken, North Star Breaking Point, Ward 5.
Brenda Yasinski, Dixonville, Champagne, Ward 3.
Gary Tays, Weber Larry, Ward 1.
Helen Sugar, represent Warrensville, La Cornell area.
And we have a couple more administration people behind you.
Josh Hunter, Director of Finance. Josh Fuller, Director of Public Works.
And our local media sitting at the back there, so. So introduce yourselves and then you can kick off your presentation.
Sure. My name is Shalini Chaudhary. I am an analyst at the Impact Assessment Agency on the team that's conducting the assessment for the proposed Peace River Nuclear Power Project.
And I'm Bartek Rezakowski. I'm with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. So I work in our Advanced Reactor Licensing Division. So I'm a senior project officer there that leads and as a project lead, licensing leads on nuclear projects. So we're here to support IAC with this impact assessment process.
You're gonna have to project.
Oh, sorry.
You are very quiet.
I'll start over. Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. So I'm Bartek Rezakowski. So I'm with this Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. So I work in a group that licenses nuclear reactors. So we're here to support the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada on the impact assessment for the Peace River project.
Okay, and I don't know, ladies in the back, did you want an introduction or just? It's fine.
Other staff with us who are available to answer questions.
All right, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you. Is it better if for the folks online, especially if I talk into the microphone, following the conversation from earlier? Alrighty. Okay. We'd also, perfect. Okay. So I would like to note that I'm visiting today from Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and I'd like to take some time to thank the lands that we have gathered on today. Today, we're gathered on Treaty 8 territory, the traditional meeting group and home of the Cree and Dene, as well as home of the Métis people. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we're visiting today. And we would also like to recognize that the project that we are here to discuss today is proposed to be on Treaty 8 territory. Thank you. Okay, so today we will be covering who we are, some project information on the proposed project, what an integrated assessment of nuclear projects is, the process for public participation and how to be involved, as well as next steps for the project, and then we'll have some time for questions from council members. So you can go to the next slide, who we are. So we are the Impact Assessment Agency, or I am the Impact Assessment Agency, known as IAC. It's a federal agency that reports to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. The role of IAC is to lead federal impact assessments. It manages the process of gathering the information that we need to understand all of the potential impacts of a proposed project. So in carrying this out, IAC is supported by a committee of technical experts, which is composed of other federal departments. So this includes departments like Health Canada, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and we have the ability to select and bring in other federal agencies as appropriate for each project. IAC is also responsible for public engagement and consultation with Indigenous peoples as part of this assessment process. So for example, IAC will prepare public notices. It will publish documents on our Canadian Impact Assessment Registry, which I'll refer to as the registry, and it organizes virtual or in-person sessions. We also hold communities with the public, with councils, with other individuals as appropriate. We also hold consultation activities with Indigenous communities, which may be affected by the projects that are being assessed. I'll hand it over now to Bartek.
So just a little bit about the CNSC. So it's our acronym for Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. So we are Canada's nuclear regulator, and we are the sole authority in Canada that regulates nuclear activities. So we administer what we call the Nuclear Safety Control Act. So that is our main legislation that we use to regulate the nuclear industry. So our act captures our mandate through 3 points. So the first being we regulate the use of nuclear energy and materials in order to protect the environment and the health and safety of the people. The second point is that we implement Canada's international commitments on the peaceful use of nuclear energy. And then the third is we disseminate objectively scientific and technical regulatory information to the public and Indigenous nations and communities. So our commission is a quasi-judicial administrative tribunals. So we are an arm's length away from the government. So we are an independent regulator, and we report to the Parliament through the Minister of Natural Resources. But yeah, that's it.
So just may I interject a question?
Sure.
So, regulate the use of nuclear energy materials, does that include everything right from hospitals to, industrial X-ray machines?
Yeah, so it's not just nuclear power plants, right? So nuclear medicine is a big part of our mandate as well. Transportation of dangerous goods. So it's not just nuclear power, so it's a wide range of activities.
Thank you.
Maybe just for myself, I mean, can you maybe explain to us as a municipality, what would our regulatory authority be?
So, so I mentioned earlier, so the nuclear industry is federally regulated, so that's part of it. That's, that aligns with the Constitution, right? So it is a federal jurisdiction. And when it comes to the nuclear activities, conduct of nuclear activities, so that's not to say other levels of government, provincial and municipality, don't play a role. So we do have what we call memorandum of cooperations with different levels of government, such as, for example, emergency preparedness when it comes to a nuclear reactor. So the province plays a big role in terms of emergency preparedness when it comes to the potential evacuations should we be in a worst case scenario, so to speak. So yeah, so there are roles that are played at all levels of the government, but we hold the main jurisdiction, the main what's the word I'm looking for? Main authority. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick overview of the proposed project. So Energy Alberta is a private sector company that is proposing the construction and operation of 4 CANDU Monarch reactors located approximately 30 kilometers north of the town of Peace River, Alberta. Energy Alberta, in parallel with the assessment that's being conducted by the Impact Assessment Agency, is applying for a CNSC license to prepare site. As proposed, the Peace region, the project would generate up to 4,800 megawatts per year, and it would cover 1,424 hectares in area and operate for approximately 70 years. 2 sites, next slide please, are currently being considered for the project. Both options are downstream of the town of Peace River. Option 1 is in green on the west bank of Peace River and would be about 30 kilometers due north of the town of Peace River within the county of Northern Lights. Option 2 in blue is on the east bank of the Peace River within northern Sunrise County and is also approximately 30 kilometers north of the town of Peace River. Energy Alberta is anticipated to make its final site selection decision by late 2025 after evaluating technical and safety requirements, environmental impacts, as well as considering Indigenous and social considerations. Energy Alberta plans to engage with Indigenous nations and communities and local governments to gather that input to support site suitability. All right, next slide. And yeah, perfect. Okay, so when a project includes this is actually
That's not nice.
okay. All right. I'll make. So when a project includes activities that are regulated under the Nuclear Safety and Control Act, which Bartek has introduced, referred to as the NSCA, IAC works very closely with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to conduct what we call an integrated assessment. So IAC and CNSC cooperate in this situation with a common objective that all of the requirements are achieved in a single integrated assessment. So this is looking for an efficiency where we have this one project, one assessment objective. Together, we're assessing the potential effects over the life cycle of the project, and CNSC is considering the first licensing phase of the nuclear facility, which I'd mentioned previously is the license to prepare site. So by working together, we're ensuring that the assessment benefits from both of our experience and expertise. And the outcomes of the integrated assessment will have the 2 decisions. The first is the outcome on the impact assessment, And that is if the decision allows for the project to proceed. And then the second decision is on the potential issuance of that applicable license under the NSCA. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the impact, the integrated assessment. Next slide, please. There are 5 key phases in an impact assessment, and we have opportunities to participate, ask questions, and leave comments throughout. So the first is the planning phase, and that's where we identify what the key issues are that are associated with a project, and we develop a list of guidelines, which we call the integrated guidelines, and that is a list of guidelines for the proponent to follow, and it's a list of information and analyses that the proponent must provide or is expected to provide. Those information and analyses that are requested in these guidelines build our understanding of the key issues and inform IX assessment of the project and the licensing evaluation that will be conducted by CNSC. The guidelines can also lay out how the proponent will interact with the public and other stakeholders, such as the municipality, throughout the assessment process. So we're currently in that first phase. We're currently in that planning phase, and we've produced the draft guidelines, which are available on the registry. And we're in the process of seeking input on these draft guidelines as we move from draft into finalizing them. And so what we're looking to get input on is ensuring that everyone's concerns are covered in these guidelines. The next phase in the assessment process is the impact statement phase. It's also called the study phase. So at that point, the proponent's going to take the guidelines that we've produced, and it's going to conduct any required studies. It's going to seek relevant information, interact with stakeholders as directed, and conduct its analysis. So the proponent's going to prepare a report that's called the impact statement, and that statement will inform the next phase, which is the assessment phase. In the assessment phase, an independent review panel is appointed. So they are not a government panel, it's not a proponent panel, it's an independent review panel. The panel members include 1 nuclear expert from the CNSC and 2 other panel members. They will conduct hearings in community as possible, well, as expected in community. And the public and other stakeholders will have opportunities to present to the panel, to be heard, and to have their information considered. The panel will consider all of the information that is provided during the hearings and throughout the assessment. So any information that we collect, we post onto the registry, and the panel considers all information that is posted on the registry throughout the process. The panel will prepare an impact assessment report. And that report will outline the anticipated impacts of the project, any views that were expressed throughout the assessment, as well as the panel's conclusions and recommendations with respect to the process, or with respect to the project, sorry. We then move to the decision-making phase. So a decision on if the project can move forward will be made, including the licensing decision from CNSC. If the project is approved, legally binding conditions that the proponent must comply with will be produced. And that will be considering the recommendations from the panel, as well as any recommendations or input from public and other stakeholders. And then finally, we move into that last phase on the slide, which is the monitor phase. So IAC and CNSC will continue to monitor the project to ensure that those legally binding conditions are being met and that any required follow-up programs are in place. If any members of the public, municipalities, and others notice that there may be compliance issues or outcomes are different from those that were expected during the assessment, we have a follow-up team in place at the agency who is prepared to address those issues as they come up and enforce any non-compliance. All of these materials are also, I will note, available on our website, including this diagram, so I recommend folks check that out. Okay, now I'll pass it over to Bartek.
Yeah, so the CNC, we are life cycle regulators, so we are joined at the hip with the nuclear facility throughout its life. So we have 5 stages in that life cycle of a nuclear facility. So it begins with what we call a site preparation phase. And then should it proceed beyond that, it goes into construction, then through into operation, and then decommissioning. To which the sites would then be remediated to a suitable end state and then released from regulatory control. So if the commission, so each of these 5 stages of licensing issues a license. So if a commission issues a license, then the licensee is responsible to conduct the licensed activities safely. We, as CNC staff, we conduct what we call compliance verification activities to ensure that the licensee is meeting the conditions that are set out in that license. And so we do that through inspections, technical assessments, and audits. Through each of these 5 stages, there's ongoing public engagement and Indigenous consultation. So there's a public hearing process for each of these stages in licensing. So which gives an opportunity for the public and First Nations to have that direct link to our independent commission, right, and voice their concerns or positive or whatever thoughts, as you will, as part of that commission process that would help them inform on a decision as to whether to issue a license or not.
Yep, Terry?
Just that middle one, operation, license to operate. I'm assuming that there's, not just anybody can become a licensed to operate a nuclear plant, so can you kind of explain how you would grant, like, who would be eligible to have a license to operate a nuclear plant? It's not like operating a pipeline or an LNG plant. I'm assuming that there's a little more regulatory on it.
Yeah, so there's really, in our Nuclear Safety Control Act, there's 2 points that we focus, I guess, have to, the proponent has to, or we have to answer in front of the commission. So the 2 points are they qualified to carry out the necessary activity that they're describing? So it's our job through their application submissions and supporting documentations that we review to determine whether we deem them as qualified in order to carry out, say, operating a nuclear power plant, right? In addition to that, do they have the necessary measures in place to protect the people and the environment, right? As well, so whether it be environmental monitoring setup or radiation monitor setup, so those are the 2 big questions that we need to answer basically in front of the commission. Because ultimately we face the commission and we provide our recommendations based on that assessment of their application and supporting documentation as that we feel that they're deemed to be qualified and they have the necessary measures in place to protect the people and the environment.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm so sorry. So going back to those phases in the assessment, it's okay. No, you can stand that next slide. Just thinking back to the phases in the assessment, I'd mentioned that we're currently in that planning phase. And so I wanted to mention some of the key documents that we are producing during the planning phase. First, there's the Integrated Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines. So I've spoken quite a bit about these guidelines, the integrated guidelines. And again, this is a document that outlines the information and studies required in the proponent's impact statement. And this is drafted in collaboration with the CNSC because this is an integrated process. The next item is the Public Participation Plan. So this is a document that outlines how the public will be engaged throughout the assessment process and what the preferred engagement tools and strategies are. So this is an opportunity which is available for comment right now on how would municipalities and how would communities prefer to be engaged, not only now in the process, but throughout that impact assessment process. What works best for you and the people who are within your communities. The other plan that we have is the Indigenous Engagement and Partnership Plan. So this document describes how Indigenous groups will be engaged and consulted throughout the impact assessment process and what their preferred engagement tools and strategies are. We also have a cooperation plan, which describes how the Impact Assessment Agency will work with other jurisdictions throughout the assessment process. So we also have the permitting plan, which outlines any federal permits which would be required as part of this process. Okay, I'm gonna cover the next couple slides. They're a bit more content heavy, and this is just a bit of a zoom in on where we are exactly in the process. So this is a timeline of the planning phase. And we started the planning phase on this slide. It says the initial project description, which we posted on the registry on April 14th, 2025, which kicks off our first comment period. So from posting the initial project description, once it's submitted by the proponent, when we post that on the registry, we begin a 30-day comment period on that initial project description. Then, using the comments that we hear and the feedback we receive on that initial project description, as well as our own analysis from other experts, we produce the summary of issues, which is just a summary of the information that we have heard. That summary goes to the proponent for them to address. In parallel, we also draft the guidelines and plans that I'd mentioned on the previous slide. Those were posted on the registry on June 9th, 2025. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the proponent submitted their response to the summary of issues to the agency yesterday. We're currently going to review that response, and we anticipate posting that to the registry for the public to view either later this week or early next week. And we began our second public comment period on those draft guidelines I've mentioned yesterday. And so there's a 30-day public comment period, which has begun. And I'd also like to stress here that comments are available and are accepted at any point in the process. We have these public comment periods where we're focusing on getting information on the specific product as we're preparing that product. And comments that are submitted during that comment period allow us the time to really get into those conversations and to follow up as needed and to make sure that that input is able to be considered. But comments are accepted at any point and would be considered by the panel and at other points in the assessment process. So the next step is a legally required part of the timeline, which is that the Impact Assessment Agency will determine if an integrated assessment is required. That will be posted on the registry in July of 2025. And then by October 11th, we anticipate publishing the final integrated guidelines and plans, as well as a notice of commencement, which will kick off the next phase of the project and would end the planning phase. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about public participation in the process. Public participation is a truly key component of this process, and it informs the entire integrated assessment. I've outlined some of the ways that public participation can influence the assessment process and what information we're looking to receive from the public. I'll leave that for folks to read. I don't want to just read out all of the text, but just again to note that right now we are looking to put together the final integrated guidelines based on your input. Okay, next slide, please. Some other methods in which you can participate, are to provide comments online or by mail. So I've mentioned comments on the registry. You can also mail them to us. You're welcome to attend info sessions, which are online or in person. We're here in community this week. We will be back throughout the process. We also hold online sessions, and information about those sessions that we are holding is available on the project page on the Canadian Impact Assessment Registry. We have open house events and technical workshops, as well as community meetings, focus groups. This Thursday from 9 to 4, we will be at the Peace River Municipal Library, where we will be doing focus groups if anyone would like to ask specific questions about the guidelines and sit down with staff one-on-one to read through them, talk through them if they have any questions. Pardon? This Thursday, Thursday from 9 to 4 at the Peace River Municipal Library. We will be there. Please come by anytime. Okay, next slide, please. So I've been talking a lot about providing input on this process, and I want to go over different types of input that we receive and how you might want to structure your input as you or other members of your community are providing it. So one of the things that is greatly appreciated as we're going through and reading and trying to figure out how to action this input is receiving specific input. So all comments are welcome and are considered and are reflected in the assessment. That's something that's very important that I would like everyone to recognize. Is if people would only like to provide general comments, that is fine, and we will accept those and we will integrate those into our process. But when we receive more specific comments that have a specific concern, and can point to the knowledge that you all hold about your community and what you would like us to, or the proponent, us to ask the proponent to do in relation to that concern. That gives us a more actionable item that we can consider and work to reflect as we develop the final guidelines. All right, and then that brings us towards the end of the presentation. So just some reminders that I've spoken about today. We have those guidelines out for comment. We also have that public participation plan, and we'd love to hear from everybody about your comments, your feedback. We have some contact information available on the slide. And with that, I would like to thank you. Thank you, Council, for your time, and thank you, the folks listening on Zoom. Yeah, that's all.
Well, thanks, Cheryl. You're right on your 30-minute mark. So will this PowerPoint be available?
Yeah, we will be posting this on our registry, I think, after this week.
And just a question, I know it came up at our town hall last night about getting the word out that the comment period is open yesterday again for another 30 days.
Yes.
Is that IAC? I mean, is that your kind of duty to try and, like, we put it on our website, we put it on our Facebook, we put it on our newspaper, and we try to get it out as much as we could. But it is, we're kind of limited on our avenues to put information out. I'm judging by the comments that there was a lot, there was over 200 that the word was out, obviously. And I'm reassured by saying that you can comment at any time. Those aren't specific, lanes that you have to stay in those dates. So just how does IAC go about advertising that?
Absolutely. So we have, when we do kick off these comment periods, there's a little bit of a push in terms of advertising. So we are very open if you have any recommendations on where we could advertise more effectively to meet the communities where they're consuming media or where they're hearing about these things. We do put out a notice to the press or to the media when we have a public comment period go out. We also have a distribution list, which everyone is welcome to sign up for, that will get notified when we have a public comment period or a new product on the registry. Whenever anything is, a document is posted, they can also be notified of that. We do some social media posting just to notify folks that there's a next step is being taken in the process. I'm trying to think. What else did we do?
We did the mail drops.
Oh,
We did
mail
the
drops.
letters. I'll just find that I can say what newspaper we advertise.
Sure, yeah. Yep, so we do some mail drops where we'll send out some little postcards effectively to folks who are within a geographically bound area around the proposed project. And I believe we had sent out an advertisement to a couple of papers in the area. I will get the names of the papers that we sent it out to. But if there are recommendations on where we could be posting those.
Well, I think that was
Hot off the press.
That would be exactly, and this is all radio. Perfect, yeah, so we had radio, we had Chetwynd Coffee Talk Ltd, which will be published on Wednesday. Tumblr Ridgelines, South Peace News, River County Radio, All Hit Music, Move Radio, Bounce Radio, Energetic City, River County FM, Fort St. John Now, CBC, Prince George, Citizen, Post Media, South Peace News, Canada Post, Snap Mail, and the community newsletter of the town of Peace River. The list continues. There's quite a few more.
I didn't really mention our local newspaper, the Reporter City Back, maybe he can get contact information, how you can put an ad in our paper.
Yeah.
It's a weekly paper, so that
Yes.
would probably catch a couple issues.
Yes.
So, yeah, well, thanks, that's, like I said, I think it was advertised the best as possible with every means that we have at our disposal, right, so.
And we greatly appreciate it.
So, have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So the proponent, well, not the proponent, but the reactor, the builder of the reactor, Atkins Realis, their spokesman stated some time ago that if all goes well with developing this reactor, it's not been designed yet. If all goes well, it could be ready to build licensed by the end of this decade. And there's other experts out there saying that's a very ambitious schedule for signing third generation reactors, right? So it would seem, I'm not an expert in this, but it would seem very premature to be, 5, 6, 7 years out to start this process when reality is they really don't have a reactor right now. We saw this movie, some years back with the ACR 1000 that hung over this community for about 5 years, and at the end of it, nothing came of it. Right? And it caused a lot of turmoil in the community in the meantime. So just seems like we're maybe seeing this movie again, but just why would it start so soon, given the time span of this sort of thing?
I'm gonna probably answer this multiple ways. I'll use the recent example actually. So I specifically deal with the Ontario reactors. So we recently granted a construction license to the Darlington SMR project. It's called the Darlington New Nuclear Project, which they're using the American design called the BWX 300. And they didn't select that technology until wasn't until 2021. And they've had a site preparation license, which was renewed also in 2021, but they had a their initial site preparation license was granted back in 2011. So they've had that site preparation license for about a decade plus now, if you include the renewal, without having that technology selection, which is okay. You can still prepare the lands based on from general parameters with respect to a nuclear facility, right? And our current regulatory framework doesn't require you to select the technology at the site preparation phase, right? But once you get start preparing for the construction ones, then you would need to obviously know what you're constructing, right? So going back to your question about the Monarch design itself, you're right, it's not a complete design yet, nor was the BWX 300 either when they submitted their construction application. So so it's something that we're getting used to, I guess, if you want to call it that. But the Monarch is based on the established Canadian design that we have in the operating reactors, right? It's just basically a modernization or upgrade to the existing CANDU reactors that we have in Ontario. So it's not like they're starting from scratch, the technology design, right? So it just builds upon existing technology.
There are Michael Snyder, he published the World Nuclear Industry Status Report. He's quite skeptical. He said it's beyond feasibility, or outside feasibility was its quote. There's that.
Well, at the end of the day, it all depends what they submit in their application, what documentation analysis they've done, right? So if they don't, if their documentation analysis does not meet any of our regulatory requirements, right, then they would have to go back and try, go back. I wouldn't say go back to drawing board, but then come back with alternative ways in order to meet our regulatory requirements. Because at the end of the day, it's up to them to demonstrate how this technology will meet our regulatory requirements.
Okay, any other questions, council? So, yeah, great presentation, and that's one thing that I have learned since we first introduced to this proposed project was that CNSC is a global leader in regulations and very highly respected globally, so it gives them confidence that whether they select a BMX 300 or a Monarch CANDU or a Western, whatever they do, it's gonna have to get through your guys' vetting process here before it even gets an approval, so and that may take another decade, who knows, but I guess that's up between the proponent and the manufacturer and then the regulator at the end, so.
Yeah, I think one important factor is we don't control the schedule, it's the proponent, right? So
Absolutely, but I mean, you do control the license, so.
yeah, but however long it takes, then that's how long it takes. If anyways, the point is we don't, at the end of the day, they have to satisfy a regulatory requirements. Right. However long that takes them to do so, it's on them.
Yeah, so if they find a cheaper reactor on Amazon, it might not necessarily do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, apologies for last night, our agenda kind of overran September, and I know you guys are there, but we're gonna do it again. Or you're gonna do it again in some other communities, and then we're gonna do it again back with our municipality, so we'll try to have that sorted out and leave a bit more time for your presentation, and that it's most valuable and give some time for Q&A, so.
Thank you. We're here all week.
So how does the pancake breakfast go, or was it that this morning, or?
Yeah, the meet the regular or breakfast with the regular.
Yeah, it was
It's
great.
pretty good.
Yeah. Great breakfast.
That's good, okay, well, thanks for giving us your time, and we'll see you on Thursday, maybe even sooner if we come to some of the other communities, so.
Let's do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Guys, there's water in the fridge, water, juice in the fridge back there, under the coffee mug if you want.
Thank you.
Check out some of the local. We'll reconvene.
Is it worth it?
Don't push the bear.
Okay.
Looks very good.
So with the courtesy to our Director of Finance, we're gonna skip down the agenda to item 6.1.4 taxation. Josh has to leave around 3 o'clock, so we'll try to get his items out of the way. So everybody find it on their agenda, including myself. There it is.
Yeah, before all the additions, it was actually pretty early in the agenda. Thought it was gonna be all right. Everybody have it in front of them now? Yeah. So a couple of things, not my favorite report to bring you guys, but becoming a common occurrence. We've done quite a few now in the past few years, although we didn't have one last year, so our last tax sale was actually September 13th, 2023. So this year, we've got, I think, about 21 eligible properties. That will be able to be taken up to this point. By no means do I expect even close to that amount to actually go through that process. A lot of people, especially any that there's a mortgage on, the banks will step in at the last minute and pay them. It's just what happens. There's a bunch more notifications that go out and get a lot more, I guess, real to people who are receiving them as the dates get closer. However, to meet advertising requirements and kind of work with summer breaks and stuff, we need to bring this report to you so that we can set a date and time, set terms and conditions, set reserve bids, and then kind of get the ball rolling with these advertisements. So what we're looking for from you guys today is to set the date and time for the auction to be September 10th, 2025 at 1:30. That will accommodate the schedules of, as of right now, Gerhard and myself and Denilda, I do believe. And then just do it early afternoon like we typically have. And all of the properties are detailed there, just with the title number, the amount outstanding for arrears, which is what they would have to pay to avoid tax sale. That does not include their current year's taxes. Reserve bid and assessed value. You'll notice for almost all of those properties, we're going to use the assessed value as the reserve bid. For any of these that are residential in some capacity, that is indicative of the market value of those properties. The only ones we've deviated from are, there's a big chunk of farmland, or if something actually, if we can see on the title that it changed hands for more than what is the current assessed value, we'll always adjust it up. Just to avoid having fights with owners if we sell something for less than it should be, or less than they think it should be. At the end of the day, if these go through tax auction, a bid has to be at least what the reserve bid is set. Okay to be arbitrarily high. At that point in time, we would just then pay for an appraisal. We would put those costs on to see if our reserve bid was kind of out to lunch. And then just kind of keep it listed for sale from there. That's really all I have to tell you, unless there's any questions.
So the arrears, of course, would include all penalties.
Yeah, absolutely, and when we get to the point of putting a tax file notification, so the actual registration on a property's title that says you are now in arrears, and could be subject to tax collection efforts, we put a $50 charge on for that as well, because we incur a cost to do that.
So your report says 21 properties.
Yeah, and then I think I took a few off because we were a year ahead of them, so. Should say approximately 21, but there was a couple fewer, I think.
Not any questions on this? This is standard thing we do, well, not every year, obviously, you said we didn't last year, but.
Terms and conditions of the sale are identical, we haven't changed them, we haven't had any concerns or issues collecting payment. So that's all been fine, we're all kept standard. And the only other thing I did include, there's just kind of the assessment summary, it's got no confidential information on it, so it's attached there for each of the properties as well. So you can kind of see what they are. If you look at one and go, that actually doesn't look too bad, that is one that won't get to tax sale, that's the bank.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, as counselors, I believe you are not eligible to bid on any properties. So.
And the really bad
Any
example.
of our film,
What's that mean?
and anybody in our family?
I don't know, it's a good question.
Some of these are only like $300.
So, I mean. You can pay me to work on behalf of the county, not give people financial advice, but if you let a property go for a couple $100, it's not very wise. So I would assume probably they will find a couple $100 to avoid that situation. Especially if there's one that has no registrations on the title. It makes no sense, so.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll need a motion to acknowledge receipt of this tax arrears sale and set the date for the public auctions, September 10th. Councillor Lewandowski, all in favor? It's carried.
Thank you, council.
Then we can move on to 6.1.5, finance, year-to-date budget. Item A.
Yeah, here for your review, the same fashion it has been the past couple of times. Don't believe there was really any new things that jumped out compared to the last one, so written comments are there. Capital projects, just again to remind you guys, this changes, I think since the day I did this, we got 4 or 5 invoices, so it's just literally a delay in processing to get that factored into the system that I generate these reports from. So they'll change again the next time you see me. A lot of those, like what we have both of those graders now, we've just only been invoiced for one, so it's not that we haven't acted on any of those projects, they're just, it's kind of in the delayed phase of invoicing.
I kind of had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did check with Charles, he's on track.
Yeah. That's 2 of us then that checked with Charles, yeah, sure, so. Other than that, it is here for any questions.
And you getting much blowback on, not having a summary of taxes that people have to add up themselves and.
No, for a couple of the bigger landowners, there's a way we can do it, so. Reached out to a few people, the people that kind of schedule an appointment to come in that own significant amount of parcels. They did the same thing again this year, so it's not been too bad.
And hope this is still have that rectified for next.
Yeah,
year.
you betcha, as an automated thing. But like I said, we are able to generate a tax statement that shows all of their stuff. It's just, it looks different. It's not quite as nice as that other report, but it functions.
Any other questions? Budget report, okay, Councillor Reese. Motion to acknowledge receipt of the budget, year-to-date budget report, except for information, all in favor? It's carried. And
Just,
last,
Terry, there's 33,000 left in your miscellaneous grants. I don't know if there was an addition for any requests, but just important to remember that if there is. Sorry.
We're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Okay, item B is the Director of Finance update.
Yeah, so don't be scared by this. This is the busiest week here for my staff. so. Total tax levy for the year was just over $25 million as shown there. I wrote this last Wednesday, I believe, and at that time we had collected 33.5% or about $8.5 million of that. We were probably sitting on a few $1 million worth of post-dated checks in the safe that will start entering out this week as the week goes on. And the phone really doesn't stop ringing this week for people phoning and paying over the phone either. So it's not really out of the normal. Don't panic. We're getting through collecting a bunch of it. The only other comment there is we do have that tax auto pay program, so that actually lets people pay from January to December. And the total levies applicable to those properties is just shy of $900,000. So that will never be paid by June. They pay off until the end of December. Inquiries still really low this year. The assessor actually emailed us and just made sure we weren't sitting on a bunch that we didn't send them. Last year, I think we did 200 and some, and this year I counted them again and we were at 21. So it's yeah, oddly quiet. Not sure that's a great thing because we still hear from people. But the consensus is, well, everything else is just getting more expensive every year anyway, so what's the point? So.
How about those missing ones ever anymore? Did people ever?
I have no idea what happened. Some of them got them and some of them still haven't. It doesn't seem to matter where they live. It was randomly 2 letters, but everything went out in the same box, so I didn't get one. Not that, and so it was R's and S's as a last name. But they literally went all to the post office at the same time, not separated by letters and boxes, so. If you don't have one, we can print you one.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, so we,
and everything.
so again, back to this communication thing. We knew it was an issue, so we have advertised with every means except for phoning everybody whose last name starts with an R and an S. So by now you should know that taxes have been due June 30th in this municipality, I believe, since 1995. If you don't get one, please phone us and we will help you out. And better now than before July 1st when we charge it. So the next one, just for council's information, we do have a renewal period coming up for benefits provider. This is an annual thing we do. So Gerhard and I have that meeting tomorrow afternoon just to review it. They haven't sent their presentation ahead of time, so not sure what it looks like yet. The last few years it's been pretty stable, so I'm not expecting anything crazy. Assuming there's no questions on that. The IP appeal I put on here just so you guys don't think I forgot about it, but there has been no word. I don't expect there to be. Being as they have one for the other large bulk facility in Alberta, though, I'm kind of expecting they will have a decision before September, just because I don't know that they'd want to go through all that effort to hear the same thing all over again before writing a decision. That's my efficient opinion. Then I remember sometimes that probably all those people are paid based on how much they hear, so maybe not. But I will definitely update you guys as soon as I hear something on that front. Last night, I didn't just ignore your meeting. I was at another one for the Manning Chamber that lasted almost as long. We were there for a couple hours. So at the end of the day, they've seen some issues. They had some funding cuts, so they wanted to entice as many people out to get their opinions heard. It was very well attended. I think there was 20 some people there, which is a record from what I've ever seen in attendance. So at the end of the day, it was decided they will continue on. They've elected a new board. Because we contribute, I try to stay away from a board position on that one. I just go to provide insight and kind of align our efforts. It's a lot of duplication of things, so it just helps knowing what they're working on by having somebody in the room. So yeah, well, I won't step on their toes. They can update the paper and everything. It's theirs. That was that, but it was a 2 hour long meeting, so 7:30 till 9.
Or even with funding reduction, you said, so they'll, are they gonna, you can't speak to that, they'll have to be up to the board to address us if we want.
Yeah, and they will, we paid them for 2025, but it was a motion to fund them just for 2025. The town's motion is also a 1 year motion. So the expectation is that obviously they'll have to come back. Being as it's an election year, they'll have to do that in November, I guess probably would be the best time. And sell a potential new council on continuing their funding. Rural renewal stream, again, I sneak this on here just every few meetings, it's ongoing, there's been a few good ones again, so I've written a few letters on behalf of the town and the county, specifically for the employers listed there, so the Prairie, the Mill, Snack Shack and Grins were the most recent ones. The not so nice side of it is like, every week I get a phone call that is just without a question, a scam of somebody trying to figure out how I can get a letter written, which really doesn't accomplish anything anyway. And so they try to make up an address where their business is located, not realizing that I have access to a map and see that that's not you and that, no, it's not your business, so good and bad. There are a few members of the community who are now permanent members that are extremely gratuitous, I guess, to have this and it helped. They all thank me personally. I go, I did nothing but copy a template letter, give it to you. So it's thank you for applying to work somewhere that I knew was a real employer. Made my job easy. So it continues on, I guess. And then just a reminder, I'm away fishing from July 3rd to 14th, and then you guys decided that wasn't long enough, so you canceled the next 2 meetings, so you didn't have to see me for another month. So we'll see you all in August.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Any questions? Get a motion to accept that report. Councillor Thies, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you, council.
Yep, thanks, Josh. See you in August. I'll probably see you sooner.
I'll stick around till the end.
Three.
Yeah, 3:20. I appreciate you bumping me up so we can get through that.
Okay, so let's back up on 6.1.1. Item C is a purple air sensor. Who's gonna speak to that?
Me. So I attended the first PRAMP meeting and went through orientation, and they would like our input on installing some purple air sensors into the area. So they paid for the cost of the sensors, we carried the cost of the small amount of power and Wi-Fi that they would need. So they were looking at some locations, they did have one at the Rosary School here in Manning. They thought that our county office would be a really great idea because it's kind of the bottom of the hill, the top of the hill. But they would also like to see some further south. So we had talked about, she had actually talked to the Dixonville school, but now with everything changing, we're like not really sure what's going on yet. So I mentioned to her, well, we have a grader shop in Dixonville and we have one, well, we don't anymore.
Well, no, we do, but you don't want to put that terrible in there.
Oh.
Go to the water treatment or water.
Or, yeah, or whichever, so like, that's another option, so I was like, we have one in Dixonville and one in Warrensville, and she's like, oh, those would be great locations to kind of spread them out and get some good readings differently, so she just wanted info.
Something I could suggest is Truckville, so you got Warrensville. I don't know if you want one, I don't know.
So how
Launch
many?
this.
So we
Go all the way to K.
we kind of talked about 3, the thing is, they want them in like pretty populated areas.
So here the county office would be perfect.
So here would be great because it's kind of like I said, there's one down at the school and then one at the top of the hill, so that would be really great. And then she was kind of trying to move one into Dixonville somewhere that would work. And I'm like, well, until the school gets kind of confirmed, we need somewhere with steady internet and power. So I was like, okay, what can we do? And then kind of Warrensville to bridge the gap between Dixonville and Grimshaw.
So in all honesty, Kaylin, we will not know this. an additional cost on the internet or power.
No, and it's so small, and the sensors are $300, but Cramp covers those. And the other thing that we talked about, was doing a lantern now that we're a member. So the lantern sponsorship, so those are the nice pretty ones that look really nice in your entryway. And she said that when Northern Sunrise County did theirs, they reached out to industry, so Obsidian actually sponsored the one for there, and so she's like, you know, maybe reach out to your mill, or if you know some other industry and they wanna sponsor it, if we wanna spend the 500 to sponsor it, or whatever. So I told her that we will talk about it today and I'll let her know.
So you said Warrensville has internet or not?
Warrensville, Brockville does,
Yeah, not the.
not the shop.
What about the Dixonville,
Dixonville does as well.
at the truck though?
Yep.
Not at the public workshop or the fire.
Well, they do, it's just terrible.
Terrible.
It's that weird little pocket. Dixonville.
How about the fire hall?
Are they attached to the building?
I don't know about the fire hall. I think it might.
I think they're just little, yeah.
Just so-
Probably the truck that was the safest.
Yeah,
place.
Brockville would be the best place to put it. Yeah.
Kayla.
Yep.
I just talked to her.
Because it's giving you air quality for the people that are in the area, right? So it just produces like your air quality for that area. So there's like some up in high level and we're working that way up. But the problem is when they extended the boundary has only come as far as Manning for it. So,
So maybe you were absent that they come and did a presentation and we kind of agreed that.
yeah, Shelley Shannon was here and did a presentation, yeah. And then so at their last Pratt meeting, which was on the 17th, I think, I just went to it. And so they had just approved that boundary. So when they were here talking to us, they were talking about expanding the boundary. So the board approved it. So now it goes as far as Manning. And so they want to kind of get the coverage going there and then keep working their way.
That's what I was driving and trying to listen.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about this other one, this driveway one, what's the deal on it?
Driveway,
Well, whatever.
the lantern one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, historically, all the places that have them now got, sponsorship from industry. And then they just put them in different areas. So like, I forget who sponsored the one in the Grimshaw Public Library, but like Northern Sunrise County, they have one in their office, but Obsidian sponsored it and then put it in their county office. So Carla's like, oh, maybe you reach out to some of your industry, you know, maybe the Manning Mill wants to sponsor it for $500. Then they get a plaque with their name and all that kind of thing, but then it would sit in our office or we can
Oh,
just
so
buy
they're
it.
not getting another sensor out of it, but they're just getting sponsorship.
Yeah, and then promotion for being a member and having it.
Well, let's start with
Yeah,
this and then we'll see how it goes.
and that's kind of how I felt too. So, yeah.
Okay, any questions for this?
So I'll reach back out to Carla and let her know, and then she can get in touch with you guys at the office or whoever and make arrangements to get it installed. To you?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion that we'll suggest those locations? Retta, okay, Councillor Yasinski, all in favor? It's carried. Item D was an addition to Peace Library System Master Agreement, so. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read it. Basically, Beaver Lodge is making some demands, requests.
Voicing concerns, I think, from what I understood, looks like they actually took the advice of the letter and sent it to their lawyer for review. The only one of the 38 members, I think, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've highlighted some concerns that they want to see addressed. It's here because it's unsigned from us. They're the only ones that I've seen comments from. Personally, I wouldn't have picked up on most of those as being issues. But if you send anything to a lawyer, you probably want something for your money, I would say. So regardless, right now, our old agreement still stands until we sign this new one. There's really not a whole lot of changes there, but I think we would either have to have direction from council to have Harry sign it on behalf of us, or wait to see what happens with these concerns, I guess, that were raised.
Really, they were just trying to get a date.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it like a.
It's kind of. And she had to put in words from other. Government stuff too. Yeah.
So. All these suggested changes haven't been approved by the board yet? Like, the agreement,
No, they must be, because otherwise they wouldn't have, not supposed to be.
On it, it's just that somebody else decided.
Well, we can just accept this for information.
Well,
Oh, they
I'm
want-
sure, eventually they'll want our renewed agreement signed. They haven't really explicitly set a deadline or anything though, unless they've talked to you and,
We have the meeting, like I said, on the 26th, executive boards, maybe we'll talk to.
Yeah. so we can definitely wait till after the meeting and just see what happens with the
Yeah.
concerns. I don't think there's any implications. They've invoiced us this year anyway for the services, I do believe, so. Or it's budgeted anyway, they've indicated what it is.
so we should make a motion to. Sign that agreement, all right?
Well, we're talking maybe just table it until
Till after.
the executive meeting and then Linda can just clarify it.
So then we don't meet for until August. July 26th.
Well, our council is meeting
Yeah.
for August, yeah, but let us feel us meet again,
August, June, July 26th.
26 is what they said agreement. Well, it can wait till August.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So table till our August meeting, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Cape Council Reese moves that we've all received the agreement, master agreement, and table till August
26th.
26th, yeah. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Moving on. Another addition, item E, update on plebiscite that we talked about. Don't know if we have any
Well, I'll have something ready by the next council meeting
in July.
in July.
Okay.
So that will be, do we need a bylaw, are we proceeding?
I'm not quite sure exactly what we need to have on one, but I'll have all the information by the.
Okay, any other questions on that? No. We have a motion to accept the information, website report, update.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Thies. All in favor? It's carried. Item F, review of the town hall meeting, held June 23rd. My personal opinion on that, Brent, you put it on there, you want to speak to it, but I thought it was very well attended and, we had good presenters. Just, we stuck to our timeline and unfortunately ran out of time for various reasons, but, yeah, that was my take on it.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get, questions from the audience. That was the only thing, a lot of people had questions, right, so, I mean, is there some way we can streamline this for our next go around?
No, absolutely, absolutely, we're gonna,
You know, like, I think we gotta keep the speakers to a certain time.
Yeah.
And
Well-
maybe we could also reverse the order of the speakers, so the other speaker gets a chance to critique the one before, like. It's always a bit of an advantage if you go second and you can.
yeah, I mean, that wasn't really by design, it's just kind of how it worked out, it's
Yeah.
kind of ironic how the second speaker. Everything he had on his presentation kind of played into hers, but
But if we reverse that, then, you know, then it
Yeah.
makes it fair, right?
we can consider that. The other thing I'm gonna do is, we're gonna have Dan moderate again, and just, he has to just put his foot down and not have any
You know, if we
interruptions.
can set a timer even, you know, like, and then King, you know, then.
Well, time, but plus the interruptions drug it out longer than too, right? When the presenters are going and in mid-presentation, somebody would interrupt. And then that would eat up some more of the clock then, right? So save your questions for the end and, but yeah, that's. It was a learning experience last night.
I just want to make a comment on the question, so. We haven't received any but one sheet. So we made the sheets available for people to raise all the questions, and the only questions we received was from one of the presenters.
Yeah.
Nobody else gave us.
I think what maybe people like to do it, I believe.
Yeah, but it's still, the opportunity is there for them to actually raise it, and we would have answered them with the questions. I mean, unfortunately, we ran out of time yesterday, but the option was there.
Yeah, we could make improvements, like I said, it was due to us, I guess, and didn't really give anybody any time restraints. They said, yeah, go ahead and do your presentation, not knowing that they're gonna both be quite lengthy, so. Which is good, but I mean, we did have limited time, so. Any other comments on it?
I did take a couple of phone calls, just very disappointed that they weren't able to ask questions or converse with us, and that's what they were coming to the presentation for. I would like to see the presentations tightened up, shortened up a little bit. I think an hour each was like sitting through a college lecture, and it was too much. There was a lot of people checking their watches, like looking around, like I think we lost people. So I'd like to see it shortened up a little bit more, and yeah, I took a couple calls, very upset that they couldn't have questions, so I'd like to see that corrected.
I got stopped today and said, what kind of questions, why can't we ask questions? And I said, well, you can email them to the office here and we can try to look after it that way, but.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same, but still, at the meeting, yes, they should be able to ask questions.
Yeah, I think everybody agreed on that.
As long as they don't harass anybody or.
Yeah.
All names and stuff.
Okay, any other comments? Was it a motion to acknowledge receipt of the verbal account of the town hall or verbal review?
And that we will look into shortly.
Pardon me?
Speakers, I'd like it so that we're looking to shortening up the speaking from.
Well, I don't know, yeah, either a motion or not. I think we've all agreed on that, but if you want to put it in motion, that's fine, that's your motion, so.
Yeah, but I think we shorten to at least 10 minutes at the most. There's speakers, they don't really get everybody to speak.
Okay, any other discussion? And that's Councillor Alves to make that motion. All in favor? It's carried. Blake, you're not in a rush, we got a Municipal Planning Commission meeting, so we can come back to you later. Yeah. It's not gonna be long, so don't go too far away. So we'll adjourn this regular meeting, or recess, I guess, I don't know what we're doing, but recessing or adjourning. And we will call to order our NPC meeting at 3:06. I'm assuming that by a cell online. Oh, even better.
Yes, I'm online, thanks. Hi, Gail.
Who's online?
Gail.
Hi. Hi.
Well, two lines there. Okay. Item 2.0, adoption of the agenda. Nothing else to add. So the motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Reese, all in favor? Carried. And minutes from our last NPC meeting on June 10th. Any discussion out of those? Not get a motion to Councillor Beckon, all in favor? It's carried. There was one development permit that was issued by the development officer. I'll just on that piece of catch up here. Okay, the motion to acknowledge receipt of the development permit DP 2520, except for information. Councillor Holovisky, all in favor? It's carried. That takes us down to item B, number 1, was development permit DP-2506. And who wants to lead us through that?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be speaking to that, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Council. Okay, so the applicant proposes to locate a garden suite or a manufactured home on the southwest of 28522 west of the 5th. The garden suite will be the second dwelling on the 28.30 acre or 69.94 acre parcel. The parcel is located 6 kilometers west of Peace River and 6 kilometers northwest of Weberville. The proposed garden suite will be located east of an existing residence and will share an existing access from Township Road 850. A new well, septic system, and weeping bed, separate from what is currently in place for the existing residence on site, is being proposed for the new development. The quarter section is designated Agriculture Restricted AR District. A garden suite is listed as a discretionary use in the land use bylaw. Lands adjacent to the subject property are zoned AR district with exception of a 4.07 hectare or 10.06 acre parcel in the southeast corner of the quarter section, which is zoned country residential general CR1 district. There is also a 25 lot country residential development on the adjacent quarter to the southeast, which is zoned CR2 district. The proposed bylaw was reviewed against the county's municipal development plan and land use bylaw and relevant provincial legislation. The proposed garden suite will be 995 square feet in size and meets the minimum floor area for a garden suite as outlined in policy 10.3 of the land use bylaw. The garden suite will be located approximately 110 meters from the front property boundary and more than 100 meters from the nearest side property boundary, which exceeds the setback distances required for development within the AR district. The application was circulated to adjacent or affected agencies and adjacent landowners. Responses were received from Alberta Energy Regulator, TELUS, the Grimshaw Gravels Aquifer Management Advisory Association, and ATCO Electric, all indicating they had no concerns. Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors responded indicating they had no concerns, and in this instance, a roadside development permit will not be required. No concerns from adjacent landowners or any other referral agencies were received. It is recommended that this application for the location of a garden suite on southwest of 28522 west of the 5th be approved subject to the conditions outlined.
Thank you, Gail. Any questions from council? Hearing none, does somebody want to make a motion to approve this subdivision with the conditions?
I could move.
Okay, Councillor Shug.
Yeah.
Or developer, sorry. Last chance for comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Well, that is all we have on the agenda. So thank you, Gail.
What do they call it, a garden suite?
Yeah.
Is it a small, or a smaller trailer or?
It's in our land use bylaw, right?
Yeah, I'd have to check the exact definition, but it's a smaller secondary residence.
Okay, I'll adjourn our MPC meeting at 3:10. Are you on the rest of the day?
Pardon?
Are you on until 4:10?
Yes, sir.
I got a letter from there's a development permit and a use bylaws, and it was a cemetery name. And I was looking at it, trying to figure out where the heck this is, and I realized it's the wrong cemetery, so I forgot to bring it with me. If you must have a record of it.
We can figure it
Find
out.
the right person to send it to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about, right?
I believe so.
Okay, thanks.
We
No
also
problem.
have some
That's what it is.
subdivisions
Oh,
in the management.
We have that book.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, right, I got 3 of them. Sorry.
Okay.
The page. Okay, so let's skip down to get those out of the way. We got Gail and Earl here. So 6.6.1, item A is subdivision 25 NL05.
Okay, so the applicant proposes to subdivide a 1.59 hectare parcel from the northeast of 128724 west of the 5th into a 0.023 hectares lot 3A, a 1.33 hectare lot 3B, and a 0.03 hectare lot 3C. The parcel currently has an existing duplex located in its southeastern panhandle. The applicant proposes to subdivide that portion from the balance. This proposed parcel is identified as Lot A. The most easterly 12-meter of the panhandle, identified as Lot C, will be consolidated into the Dixonville school site, which is immediately to the north. Lot 3C will serve as a driveway for school bus movements. Proposed Lot 3B will be the remnant parcel and continue as a park site. The proposed subdivision is located within the hamlet of Dixonville near the southwest corner of Highway 689 and Township Road 871A, and immediately west and south of Dixonville School. The lands east of Lot B accommodate a water fill station. Lands surrounding the proposed subdivision are development, a mixed of uses. However, they are primarily residential lands. Lot 3A contains a duplex dwelling and its front yard setback does not comply with the H district. The duplex currently accesses Lot 3A from Lot C. If this access is to be maintained, an access easement agreement will be required to be registered on Lot 3A and Lot C, which is to be consolidated with a school lot to the north. Lot B is a park and Lot C is developed with a driveway. Dixonville is primarily a residential community. It is comprised of a number of single detached dwellings, a small commercial area located at the intersection of Highway 689 and Main Street, and contains several institutional and recreation areas. Proposed Lot 3A complies with Section 7.2.6 of the MDP, which encourages infill development. It is unknown at this time if proposed Lot 3A will be sold for residential purposes or maintained by the school. Lot 3A will require a variance for its front yard setback, which does not comply with the H district. In accordance with Section 666 of the MGA, municipal reserve is owing. The applicant shall provide money in place of municipal reserve. The assessed market value for the subject lands is $168,840. The amount of municipal reserve owing is $2,760.91. ATCO Electric, TELUS, and Alberta Energy Regulator expressed no concerns. A roadside development permit is required by Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors, and 52 adjacent landowners were notified of the proposed development. No comments were received. However, 2 phone calls were received wanting to know exactly where the property was and why it was being subdivided. It is recommended that the subdivision application to create 1.23 hectare lot, 1.33 hectare lot, and a 0.03 hectare lot from the northeast of 12, 8724 west of the 5th be approved subject to the conditions outlined.
Okay, any questions?
Municipal reserve, is that?
Yeah, just speak up.
Is municipal reserve one of the conditions that they do municipal reserve?
They don't have.
Yes. It's condition number 1.
Oh, sorry. So I don't see it in the condition number 1, unless I'm looking at something.
Oh, I'm not sure why it does appear, you're right, it doesn't appear, it's in my copy, so I'm not sure why it's not in yours. The condition number 1 that we have in my copy reads that in accordance with Section 666 of the Municipal Government Act, municipal reserve in the amount of $2,760.91 is owing. And I can certainly send that condition, the wording of that condition, to Teresa for inclusion in the minutes. So we have a total of 9. I'm not sure how many conditions you have on your report, but there should be 9 conditions. And so there is definitely a discrepancy here because there is a difference. Okay. So the other one is that the applicant enter into the road widening agreement, or a development agreement. And number 3 is that the applicant owner consolidate lot C3.
Those aren't lining up with ours.
No, they're off. And number 5 is our municipal reserve. So it is on there. It doesn't say the dollar value though, Gail. It just has 10% of the price market value.
Okay, I'm sorry. This isn't my report. I'm just taking it over, but I'm wondering if can I share my screen? I don't think I can I?
It is in there. It's number 5.
Yeah, just that the order is different than what she has.
The order is different.
And there's no amount. It's 10% of the.
So Teresa, if you can catch that amount to your minutes, though, that would be good.
Yeah.
So we should have this cleaned up before we approve it, right?
Could I send Teresa the conditions that we have outlined in my report. We do have 9 conditions. I'm hoping that they're the same as what has been presented to council. Would you like me to read them into the minutes?
She can just share her screen view.
Gail, can you share your screen?
I don't see that there is any, oh yes, here it is. Just a sec. You see it up on screen?
That's.
Okay, so these are the conditions that we have in accordance with.
We're not seeing it yet. We're not seeing their screen yet.
Okay, sorry. Are you seeing it now?
Yeah.
So just go down to the phone.
Yeah, just scroll.
Okay.
Scroll down.
Number 5.
Number 5 is,
So
number 1 shows the
Yes.
municipal reserve, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Teresa, you take 5 and flip them down.
Or else just use this if you've got something.
Yeah, I'll just cut, sure, make sure that it is the exact. It just doesn't have the amount in this one.
So you can do that right now, we have to do it later.
No, I don't have access to
Okay.
everything, but
So she'll email it to you
Yeah.
and we'll just. Okay, so Gail, we have your version, which we're gonna call the correct version of conditions that we'll use.
Okay,
And
I will
Teresa
email them to Teresa then.
Okay, good, she can fix it up later.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the subdivision with the conditions.
Actually, I had some concerns about this.
Okay. We have a motion, but we haven't talked about it yet.
Oh. About, because it's the Dixonville school property. I had emailed, Jeff Thompson, the superintendent, asking him a few questions about it. Because since the school is going back to Alberta infrastructure, I was wondering if the land was as well. And, she just replied this afternoon. She said that. She said that they were just wanting to sell the property that the duplex is on. And that they have not yet applied for the assessment of the Dixonville School under the Real Property Government Act. That means that the school and the land still belong to the Peace River School Division. So I guess they can. Sell it, but, they're just in the process of getting approval to sell the duplex, so I guess they don't have that as of yet to sell it. To do that, we had to subdivide the land on which the duplex sits. So, yeah, no, I was concerned because, if the charter school takes over, then that will just complicate things because the land is separate. Like the playground area west of the school is separate from, would be separate, a separate property. So I guess that was just my concern.
Did you hear that, Gail? Did you hear Councillor Senski's?
No, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing her. I think she was concerned about the playground property, and from what I understand, it's going to be a separate lot. According to the.
Yes, yeah, I see that now. Yeah, I was just concerned with the school being closed, and of course, it's nothing to do with the subdivision other than it'll complicate things in the future. So it was mostly for council's information.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a motion by Councillor Deacon to approve the subdivision of the 9 correct, is it? Not even put it in there, but we'll fix that up. The 9 conditions. All in favor? Opposed?
I don't know,
I just think because it's the school closure hasn't been finalized, I'm just not ready to proceed.
Okay, so that's defeated because I opposed it as well, so that's defeated 4-3.
Until we get more information, I think.
Okay, we can move on to subdivision 25 NL 10.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you just tell me, was the motion passed or defeated?
Sorry, it was defeated 4-3.
Okay, thank you.
So when can they apply to do that again if they bring more information? It's 6 months, same as any motion that's defeated. Okay. Okay, Gail, go ahead with,
But they can appeal it, so.
you know,
Yes.
25 NL 10.
Okay. Okay, so the applicant owner proposes to subdivide a 9.1 hectare parcel from southwest of 1987-24 west of the 5th for a residential parcel. The proposed parcel is more than 4 acres maximum the county's land use bylaw allows for in the agriculture general district. The additional parcel size is required to accommodate the physical characteristics of the site, such as an existing residence, farm buildings, open discharge, an unnamed watercourse, and wetlands. The Municipal Government Act, the county's municipal development plan, and the land use bylaw grants discretion for the development authority to approve larger parcel sizes to accommodate related farm buildings and improvements. Based on site characteristics, it is reasonable to consider the applicant's request for a 9.1 hectare parcel. The quarter section is located at the northeast corner of Highway 689 and Range Road 250 and 9.4 kilometers west of Dixonville. The proposed parcel is located in the northwest portion of the quarter section. The quarter section and land within the proposed parcel are designated A district. The proposed parcel contains a dwelling and accessory buildings and a grassed area located north of the building site and extending to the north quarter boundary. An unnamed watercourse and wetlands surround the proposed parcel and fragments the proposed parcel from the balance of the quarter section. Lands on the balance of the quarter section are under agriculture production with some low areas, wetlands, trees, and bush. All lands adjacent to the subject parcel are zoned A district, with exception of the quarter section or quarter located to the southeast, which is zoned Crown Land CL district. The proposed parcel is compatible with existing land uses in the surrounding area and is not considered to have a negative impact on adjacent lands. Policy 4.2.4 of the MDP allows for the subdivision of land that is physically severed from the balance of the quarter section, while policy 4.27 allows for the subdivision of land to accommodate a farmstead separation. The proposed subdivision meets the intent of the MDP. The proposed parcel size exceeds the 4 hectare allowed by the A district. However, the proposed 9.1 hectare parcel is a reasonable size. It is not under agriculture production and is required to accommodate an existing dwelling and farm buildings. The proposed parcel is also fragmented from the balance of the quarter, as it is surrounded by an open waterway, wetland, and marshes. Alberta Municipal Affairs, Alberta Energy Regulator, and TELUS all responded they had no concerns. Transportation and Economic Corridors has advised that the existing access may remain on a temporary basis. The access may be required to be removed in the future. All direct highway accesses are to be considered temporary. No compensation shall be payable to the landowner or their assigns or successors when transportation and economic corridors requires removal of the access. The subject land is within the permit area of a highway as outlined in Highways Development and Protection Regulation. Proposed development on the subject land will require the benefit of a roadside development permit from Transportation and Economic Corridors. The county has reviewed the location of the existing access off of Range Road 250, located immediately north of the intersection with Highway 689, and has indicated that the approach can remain at its current location. ATCO Electric has advised that existing power line facilities will be impacted by this change. They have advised that they will be approaching the landowner for the purpose of acquiring a power line right-of-way on all facilities directly affected by this subdivision. It is recommended that the subdivision application to create a 9.1 hectare parcel from the southwest of 1987-24 west of the 5th be approved, subject to the 7 conditions outlined.
Okay, thank you. Well, any questions on this one?
Were they trying to cut down the size of it by? I don't know what they're, with their, this outline here of property, or were they just on something?
I think they were just following the natural topography of the land. There's a lot of wetland surrounding it, and which makes it a fragmented parcel.
Because it looks, how do you follow that?
Right.
Pardon me?
I think they can describe it as a fragmented.
Can
Yeah.
they? Okay.
Okay, any other questions? See none, so we want to make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the report and approve with the 7 conditions. Okay, Councillor Sensky, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, last one, Gail, 25 NL01.
Okay, just give me a moment, please. Sorry. NL01. Okay. Okay, the applicant owner proposes to subdivide a 4-hectare parcel from the southwest of 188523 west of 5th as a farmstead separation. The proposed parcel complies with the maximum size of 4 hectare allowed for in the A district. The parcel size will accommodate the physical characteristics of the site, which includes an existing driveway, seasonal cabin, shed, and outbuildings. The county's municipal development plan allows for a farmstead separation. The parcel is located at the southwest corner of southwest of 188523 west of the 5th, adjacent to Range Road 240 and Highway 986, 21.6 kilometers northwest of Peace River. The proposed parcel and quarter section are designated A district. The proposed parcel is located on the southwest portion of the quarter section and contains a seasonal cabin, shed, and outbuildings. It is partially cleared and under agriculture production, while the southerly part is mostly treed. The balance of the quarter section is treed, contains wetlands, and the northerly part is under agriculture production. The surrounding quarter sections are in agriculture production. However, the southerly quarter sections are heavily treed. The proposed parcel is compatible with existing land uses in the surrounding area and is not considered to have a negative impact on adjacent lands. The proposed parcel is accessed by Range Road 240 on the west, which is partially classified as a field access road. The southerly portion of the road, which includes access to proposed parcel, is classified as residential. Highway 986 is adjacent to the south boundary of the quarter section. Roadway dedication was previously provided for the southern portion of the proposed parcel adjacent to Range Road 240. Roadway dedication adjacent to Range Road 240 for the northerly part of the proposed parcel and for the balance of the quarter will be required. There is no conflict with the MDP. Policy 4.2.7 allows for the subdivision of land to accommodate a farmstead separation. The proposed subdivision meets the intent of the MDP. Alberta Energy Regulator, Ecogas, or Atco Electric and TELUS expressed no concerns. The Transportation and Economic Corridors expects that the municipality will mitigate the impacts of traffic generated by the development proposed on the local connections on the highway system. The subject land is within the permit area of a highway as outlined in the Highway Development and Protection Regulation. Proposed development on the subject site will require the benefit of a roadside development permit from Transportation and Economic Corridors. No direct highway access shall be considered as a result of the subdivision. Access to the proposed parcel and remnant lands shall be via the local road. It is recommended that the subdivision application to create a 4.0 hectare parcel from southwest of 188523 west of the 5th be approved, subject to the 9 conditions outlined.
Okay, thanks, Gail. Another question?
I've got a question, yes. The comment from Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors that the department expects that the municipality will mitigate the impacts of traffic generated. Should we not ask the what do you call it, the subdivider to do a traffic impact assessment first?
No, not in this case. The department normally puts that in because they don't want additional traffic, or because this is on an access road or a local road access, it won't create a problem. So this is a common response that they are putting into their reports right now. Their reports have just changed recently, and they just don't want the proposed subdivision to cause additional traffic that would impact the highway. And in this case, it would not.
So no action required by the.
No, no, they're not asking for a traffic impact assessment.
I think it would be more if it was like an industrial subdivision. That would be what their concern is addressing. So I read it anyway. Good.
Any other questions? Not to get a motion to approve the subdivision with the 9 conditions. Councillor Reese, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Now I think
Okay, so
we're-
while I still have you, would you mind just explaining the defeation of the motion for the Peace River or the school? Could you give me the reason is because the school hasn't negotiated or is not aware of what their intent for the long range plan of those lands are? Is that correct?
Yes, and the school division or school closure, Dixonville school closure has not been finalized with the provincial government as of yet. So, we'd like to wait and see, what their decision is because that land may end up staying with the school.
Okay, because they are going to want an explanation. So you want to wait for the school closure before looking at any subdivision? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and the
Yeah.
school's not aware of the long range plan for the
Yeah,
land.
they're kind of jumping ahead with, the subdivision because, the property hasn't been finalized as far as what's gonna be happening with it.
I mean, to realize they want to sell the residents there, right? And in order to do that, they need to subdivide it, but that's, again, getting ahead of themselves, I think, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you. At least I will be able to explain it. Thank you. Okay.
Probably hear from them. Okay, thanks, Dale.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Blake, you got a real short report, right?
Yeah, I can.
Let's jump ahead and we'll get Blake out of the way, then we can come back to Charles. So we'll go to 6.6.3. Item A, partnership request to extend funding. So what do you got to say about that?
They emailed us a letter basically requesting that, while stating that ratepayers from our county use their services and attend their seminars, and they would like to send some publications on what they do and reports over the year, and they are asking for a $2,500 donation or sponsorship or something. They want $2,500 anyways.
Yeah, have we? Had this request before? Anyone?
I think this is the first time they've actually made that request based on the letter.
I don't think we have.
And I don't think we've ever.
A little before, I actually was director on this BC, whatever, the Forage Association, and we did come, and that was a little before, I think, every one of it were on, and to ask for a little bit of a help, and it was turned down because of the Napara thing. So, but it was a long time ago.
But it was denied then, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the last 10 years. I've been here 10, going on 11 years, and we've never received a request. I've been to a couple of their days, and it's the same as Napara. They charge a fee, and if you're a member, you pay a membership, you pay a certain fee, and if you don't have a membership, you got to pay the full fee, which is like twice as expensive. So the producers that are going to it are already paying out of pocket one way or another to support the day or the workshops that they see value in anyways. By the way the letter was worded is they wanted $2,500 to provide us with publications, like 50 publications, we could sit on a counter here or in a, I don't know, that thing that spins in the office that people could take if they want. Most of them, SARTA sends us some, or used to send us some complimentary, they're like 3-month newsletter or whatever they did, and most of them we just throw out after the new ones come in. I don't see the need to sponsor it, but it's like totally up to you guys.
Have they had any events in our area?
No, most of the events I've been to have been like somewhere around Worsley, Fairview area.
The pair on some, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't,
Yeah.
they'll have something in Grimshaw, or even in Manning, they'll co-host a.
They'll share speakers a lot of times, like if Peace Country Beef brings the speaker in, then they'll make their way and kind of do a loop and save on like travel and accommodations. So they'll, come in the day before, do Peace Country Beef, and then come do one in Manning the next day and then drive home. So they work together like that. We just renewed our grant agreement with Napera, which was $100,000 plus the additional funding that we secured through the resource management stream funding through the new grant, ASB grant.
Well, we fund the para like a lot of money. And this is kind of an overlap that I don't know. I mean, if the para can work with these guys, that's probably all I should expect, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, I would just accept for information, or I don't know if you guys would want to go as far as write them a letter and to say we're not. I don't think, to my knowledge, that Peace Country Beef puts on any events actually in our county. It would be our people seeing on their website they're having an event they like, and I think even Napera and Peace Country Beef share each other's events on their web pages and Facebook pages to help each other promote. And people go from our county to wherever the event is hosted, but I don't believe Peace Country Beef hosts any events in the county of Northern Lights. But
Yeah, so
Just saying that.
just going through their events here, there's a couple coming up, but.
Fairview, I know like Clear Hills County gives them money, Saddle Hills County, I think MD of Fairview, like those municipalities over there where they're predominantly hosting their events. Support them to some extent, nothing like we give Napera, of course, but.
Yeah, well, I think my personal view is we're finding the para, this is. If we didn't have the para, then we'd definitely look at supporting something like this and come up to a region, but. I don't know, what does the para board ever have interactions with their board? Or?
Well, I am a member of both.
Yeah.
And like there are a few, they come into like their job. And the last winter they're having a meeting in Peace River. So they are trying to spread it around, and usually it's all in Fairview or Rycroft.
So they're kind of up against us, but not right in our municipality.
Maybe something you can offer them is to have a link on our website to their website. They would be interested in something like that. With the cost of
What they're saying in the letter to us is that in the past several years, some of the ratepayers have accessed information from our association. Tenant events, and some have even become members. They would like to be able to would like to propose partnership so that we can extend our information to your ratepayers.
Yeah, so all the information is free on their website because a lot of the research they're putting out there, they're gonna be securing grants that are already paid for by the public in some way or another, whether it's RDAR, OFCAF. Like they're already getting money from the government to do a lot of these projects, right? Like that's why the letter is kind of worded in a way where they're acting like they're doing this stuff out of the goodness of their heart, but they're not telling you that the money is coming from public dollars through other channels. They would just like another $2,500.
And they
But-
said,
Like if you look on the website, all their information is free right there, right? Same with Napera's. Napera's is free too, right? And that's part of that's part of like why it's free there is that's part of a condition of their grant for OFCAF. Just like when we get a grant for the Alberta government for our Ag Service Board program, part of the requirements to get the money is we are promoting the Ag Service Board. So that's why we're getting the Ag Service Board grants. We have all this stuff on our website, link, Facebook, and we're promoting it. We're not taking that money and then saying, if you want this information and this services, now we're gonna charge our ratepayers, right? It's all free to access, right? We're doing it because we got the grant. And it's the same thing as a lot of their grants. So like Napera in the last like 3 months, they've applied for a watershed grant to do water testing. So they're getting $15,000 to do the water testing that we've been paying for out of our pocket. They're now getting a grant for it. One of the stipulations in that grant is because we're giving you the $15,000 and you're managing this project, you have to show us that you're putting that information back out to your community so people can see the work that we're paying for, right? So all that publication, yeah, our producers may be accessing it or finding some value in it, but somebody has already paid for that through public dollars. Is my understanding. Maybe could have worded that a little nicer, but.
Motion of, separate information. Also,
Councillors.
people like the bikers for veterans.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we could diplomatically give our reasons that we're, think they're a great organization and that we support their work, but we support Napera too, right? So. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Did you want to just quickly touch? I mean, I know we're squeezed for time, but I know you had a talk about, not that we want to do it today, but if it continues dry like this, there's some regions of the municipality that are really suffering from drought that we may want to declare a ag disaster again due to the drought. Yeah, it's more just for you guys' awareness over the next couple months when you're talking with producers. I know Keg River is exceptionally dry, North Hawk Hills, part of Hotchkiss, I think parts of Dixonville, Deadwood are dry, grasshoppers are. Yeah, I think I mentioned Keg River first. Grasshoppers are really starting to take off, pest pressure, we're starting to see, so it's just something to keep on your radar, like if we don't start seeing significant rainfall over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Some areas are gonna be really hurting. I don't know how your neck of the woods is doing, but.
Well, we had 2 inches, but I mean, it.
You wouldn't
like a
know.
Drop in the bucket, you know, that, it really didn't help that much.
How did you get 2 inches over there?
Terry shared those maps too with all you guys, the weather from the Alberta government. And it just shows, even if you go back to last fall, you can see we've been running a deficit. I actually think if they expand the map the last 10 years with the amount of droughts disasters we've declared over the last, since I've been here, you'll see that we've been in a deficit for quite a while. And it's why you can get 2 inches and a week later, it's like, frick, I thought we just had rain, and stuff starts continually going downhill. So it's just something in your conversations with ratepayers when you're driving on your range roads or whatever you're coming by, just keep in mind that's something we should be talking about in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Yeah, probably. We'll meet again in August. If we meet in July, it'll be too early, so maybe meet in August, we'll have a better idea what the situation might be. It'll be very clear by then, right? One way or the other, so, okay. And then the disaster doesn't really mean anything, it's just to bring, I shouldn't say it doesn't mean anything, but it's to bring awareness basically to the issue, and then you can get livestock tax deferrals and whatever else the government comes out with, right? Okay, thanks, Blake. Yeah, welcome today. Okay, we can, top of page 2 of the agenda, the Director of Public Works report, verbal report, Charles.
Well, do you want to get to Gary's first?
Yeah, we got witness workshops for. Item G.
Yeah, one more left. Okay.
Oh, I got an addition, so we item G, the addition under 6.1.1 wetland seminar. We
Show some information now.
Sharing.
Gary, you still gonna make peace watershed?
No, I don't.
No. Brent, is that you?
Yeah, I've been, not all of them, but.
But Adam is always at our group shop gravel aquifer, or whatever, and he's putting it on for the ducks and for the watershed, so. It is free for anybody to go to it. 2 days, I can't remember. Yeah.
Two times, they give you more information all the time. That's it.
That's it.
You can have body of the text there.
I've gone to the link, register.
Doors open at 8:30, program begins at 9.
15 and 16.
So, is this any value for us to attend, or?
Well, I probably wouldn't attend. So this is one too that. The conference I went to in the. Early spring, I think it was. I don't know if this is the same kind of thing. Cause that was all 3 watersheds put together.
It kind of sounds like it was like that, fire and water one I went to in Grand Prairie that they put on, and it was like. It was really good, but it was only one day over there.
They're gonna go out to several sites to the west of town and I guess give examples and stuff like that, so it it's looking for support anyhow, so I don't know if you want me to go to it,
Yeah.
If you're interested.
yeah, with the group shop thing, I can go, and I'm not sure if anyone else wants to.
No, you can carry the vote for us.
Okay.
Take that motion,
Okay, Councillor Decker moves.
Gary.
Do we have to register, pre-register? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably.
Register Councillor Thiessen to attend the wetlands seminar.
Take your rubber boots.
That would be, I don't normally like them, but if we have to go to the rubber boots,
Yeah, you'd like.
I'd like to try that once.
Some people
Eat that
trying to-
wet.
Yeah,
You're trying to make hay boat that time, you'll be
yeah.
cursing that your swaths are going wet. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, now we can go to Charles. Public Works report.
Alright, so I ran out of time last week. But just to give you guys a quick verbal rundown of the things that are going on. Calcium, we had a rain delay, and as I just told Councillor Shug, we had an equipment malfunction with our contractor. We had a tank with a crack in it, was leaking some calcium, so he's kind of out of commission at the moment. We are unsure at this point when he's gonna be back up and running. We're hoping tomorrow, Thursday, but wait and see. I'm not promising anything. Re-gravel, we're gonna have an internal meeting here on Friday to solidify our plans. We already have a fairly good idea, but now that we got the whole team hired on, we wanna go through everything with them. Crushing, the contracts are in Terry's box in Garrett's office to sign. Pre-construction probably mid next month. More information on that later. We have a tender closing in 3 days, 2 days, something like that. For the Smith Mills Bridge installation. That's all I have for you at this point. Carcajou is underway. They, as far as I know, they were supposed to start on Monday. And they were doing a site walk with our engineer and make sure everything's hunky dory. That's, I have not gotten any further updates on it. Bear with me, I've only been back a day. That's it, unless for my report for this portion anyway, unless there's questions.
Okay. Charles, any questions?
Charles, did you ever go up to Cape Lip Pasture to check that, railway?
I'm trying.
Okay.
I'll put it on my list.
Come for a visit now. Cold beer for us.
Hot coffee.
My coffee.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll make the motion to accept this information.
Okay. Councillor Sharp moves to accept the DPW report for information, all in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one, Charles, is the rural water connection.
Yeah, this, I mean, all the information's there for you guys. It was kind of a lengthy one, but, something that I figured let the whole council know. Councillor Deckett and I had a tough conversation. But, yeah, if there's any questions on it, by all means, fire away. More or less just, well, describe.
Looks like it's resolved now.
Good.
After all that.
Yeah, it was interesting, but it's somewhat resolved, I guess we can call it. No?
Yeah, I didn't get a phone call from her up here.
Oh, that's good. They were not very pleased. Can't make everybody happy, I guess.
Luckily, you have the skills to deal with that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
So this is just information.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%, just for information.
The prices there, they take it or leave it, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's how she goes.
Okay, any questions?
I'll make the motion to accept his information.
Okay, Councillor Albisky moves to accept it for information, all in favor, carried. And then your last one, information report of recycling.
Not the last one, but.
Yeah.
This is just more or less information for you guys. I got asked to put together for tonight. So. There is, yeah, I reached out to 4 people, or 4 companies rather, sorry. And only one responded, so. That's fairly significant costs in my eyes, but
Well, I mean,
for one bit.
yeah, in fairness, we'd have to put one in the south too, right? I would think, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was 100% my feeling too. We told the South they couldn't have it already,
Yeah.
so you have to consider some different locations for sure for me to get on board.
I've got a question. So would it not be feasible to hold the Long Lake Regional Waste Management SC, I don't know what that means, commission, something commission, would it be worthwhile for them get economies of scale and actually do it for all the municipalities that they are representing? Or if the other municipality, sorry, but if the other municipalities are not interested, even they could manage it on our behalf?
So after we did the tour, I can't remember if Gerhard was here yet or not, when you and I went and did the tour at the Peace River Eco Center. Yeah,
It's before.
I think it was before you were here. So we had a lot of residents in Ward 1 and 2 for sure, that were reaching out to Gary and I about it, so we went and talked to them. And then I had subbed in as an alternate for the Long Lake meeting, and I brought up the recycling there. And the problem is the market and trying to sell it, and Long Lake at the time, when I had asked about it, were not interested in doing recycling. And so we had looked at some pricing options of doing it for the south, and it was just.
Was that the commission actually making the decision, or was that the operators saying, no, we don't want to do it?
I think collectively it was like, there was no market for it, what are we gonna do with it? Not interested.
And even if they just facilitate because I mean, they run all the collection points on our behalf. It would just make sense if they put it down there to, I mean, if you take a trash out, you might as well take your recycling out.
And we may have to raise our requisition to cover that, right? Obviously. And
Yeah.
so I mean, Grimshaw, Berlin, Manning, they all,
I think the problem was like, so the town folks that were represented on Long Lake, they already have curbside in town, so they didn't wanna see the requisitions go up because like Grimshaw and Berwyn and Manning had their own going on, right?
Manning doesn't.
No, but at the time they did, right? Like this was.
They talked about getting curbside and they still haven't yet.
Yeah,
There's a plebiscite they're running in October on that one.
For the town.
For the town.
so that was kind of the argument from the commission is why does everybody have to pay for it for only the rural people?
Well, they can make it
Well, I
just
think,
for the county to pay the county's portion if it's at the county's located transfer stations.
And so we had talked, when we went out to the eco center and they talked about doing like a pay program and doing a trial program with us and that
It was
decision
very-
never made it.
It was very expensive.
Well, just to join on, with
Yeah.
them, was it like 200 grand, wasn't it, just to buy?
Yeah, cause we had to pay into their deficit or whatever.
But they can also ship it out like these guys are gonna do to what's it,
Yeah.
Grand Prairie?
Yeah. Or they can put it in the landfill there.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it, Gary.
But at least that we'll have the facilities to put it, because at the moment we don't have. And it would also be regulated facilities in the sense of people who actually look that it didn't become like a landfill site like the town is claiming that happened at the Reeve.
Well, and the one thing we took back, cause the eco center, they got a grant cause they shred and burn and then recycle that heat at their program. So I brought that up at the Long Lake meeting and it was not something they wanted to pursue looking at.
well, I think would be expensive to do.
Well, it
Create
would.
something like that, but
Would.
for this, if it's just paper, like what were they planning on doing with? Like in this case,
Like prairie disposals,
yeah,
well, that's up to them, I mean, they're.
oh, they just come and get
Yeah,
it.
they come and they get rid of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
they just, yeah,
when it, like, what they explained to us, they're very fussy with their cardboard, that one little bit of oil, cooking oil, whatever, on it wrecks the cardboard. So that was one of the reasons that they shut down that eco center thing. Yeah, it had to be very, picked over very, and no other stuff, contaminated stuff in it. And this, I don't know how they're gonna do it, basically, this would be just dumped into the landfill there, so.
So, I mean, prairie disposals looked at, managed the bins in Manning before. And we had that discussion at our joint meetings and with them. But, cause they took everything, tin cans, glass, paper, cardboard. And said, well, what, it must just go to the landfill. No, they swore they took it to a sorting facility and sorted it, but I don't know if anybody ever followed it to the end and. Cause there was kind of a belief that it probably just, instead of hauling it to Long Lake, they hauled it to a landfill in Grand Prairie, right? So,
Mhm.
well, it just seems silly to do all this and it end up in the landfill anyways, like if it is getting recycled, then I'll for it, but. The other thing is I could bring this forward to the Long Lake as well, but like we need to find out where it's going.
Well, we actually received an email last week that you completed for the Cape River landfill. And we also did it for all the other ones.
Yeah.
So this is about recycling that's being forced on the producers. And that's looked like it's gonna start somewhere next year. This, what the plans are, according to these people that's doing it on behalf of the province.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we maybe should just park it till next year to
Well-
see what's happening.
The, paper, I don't think paper is a part of that,
It's plastics only, I think.
Oh, okay.
and batteries and things like that, but like all the recycling that's gonna be done with that project, we're already doing at the transfer stations. Like your white metals and your batteries and your whatever else.
Paint on it.
Paint household, right, it's household hazardous is what it is. So, yeah, we looked, like, Long Lake looked into being partnered there, but it just seemed like more, work and we're already offering them.
What I do like about them doing it on our behalf is that they can have control of the site. There's no, because if you're gonna put this at a, for example, a hall or stuff like that, people are gonna dump
It's
it.
still gonna end
Dump
up,
stuff next to it instead of the inside of it.
still end up with them.
It'd be interesting, like, I don't know, your discussions with Prairie Disposal, the only one that expressed interest, right?
Yeah, like there wasn't a whole lot, cause I didn't know exactly what we wanted to go for. But yeah, so we talked about cardboard, single bin, and this was their price for it. You might get a better price if you have more than one. Like if you got 4 bins, they might knock it down a little bit. But I can't necessarily speak to that.
But they truly say that it's recycled, it's not landfill, or did they actually come out and say that?
They didn't come up and say
I
that.
mean, that would be the key to it, right?
Right,
Yeah,
something to do with it, it's.
yeah, it's just,
Stuff that they're not on.
So maybe do we have the Eco Center come and present to council, and then you guys can hear all the information that Gary and I heard, and then you would be prepared to go to Long Lake with it? Like, cause, I mean, really, they're the closest local experts in the field, right? Like, they're doing it right now. So they could explain and share the information, and then can take another run at Long Lake.
we'll have an eco center amalgamate with Long Lake, you mean, or, you know,
No, like, I mean, like, have Eco Center come and then explain it, so then Brenda knows the information to take firsthand.
Well, I think we already do that.
yeah, we already told.
And that's what I mean, like, and Long Lake didn't wanna do it then, so I don't know why we're doing much different.
Like, better to have Prairie Disposal as a delegation, even virtually, just explain
Where's the, that must be.
what we get for that $8,000 a year, is it,
Mhm.
is it landfilling, or, I mean, there's a continual kind of, people are kind of, you know, they got unhappy recycling, right?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everything's going in dumpsters, right? And, my wife being one of them, she still washes every yogurt container and saves it in a bag, and what are you gonna do with that? Well, recycle it, well, where? I said, put it in the dumpster, because that's where it's gonna end up at, right? That's not right.
I went to the, transfer station, they were burning paper and cardboard. Yeah. So, they have started that up, so that's pretty good.
You know, where restrictions are.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just accept this information for now, I guess, and move forward with it later.
Do you want me
It
to?
is also on the agenda for tonight with joint meeting.
Does council want me to bring it to Long Lake,
Well, I
just
think
for
we're-
county residents? Well, I can offer it to the whole group, but then if we can get Terry to figure out costs, you know,
Mhm.
for county residents, for our transfer stations.
So remembering that, it's the board that makes the decisions with the commission, right, and not the employees that they might.
Oh, yes, yeah,
And-
yeah.
And why would we want to do that, right? I mean, that's-
Oh, interesting.
You looked like you had a question for me, Linda.
That's okay. Wait, it's going burning. When?
What's the acronym?
There's a fire. On that.
LLW.
I think it's passed.
No, what do you think? Management Service Commission. It's still burning.
What is it?
I think he was.
Waste Management
He was.
Service Commission.
Okay, Councilor Alavisky made that motion, all in favor? Carried. Trinity, been waiting so patiently, sorry.
Well, just one more thing, did you want me to try to get Murray in here to do a delegation?
Yeah, I mean, the other one's the next, long week meeting.
28th?
And, yeah, end of July.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody wants to talk to us about what they offer.
Good.
Because we're a little unclear and
Well, I will do that.
Well, that'll be good, because that's when you guys are going to together anyways, right?
So I'll meet her there, we'll make her come drive me.
Yeah.
there's no apostrophe in disposals, for disposal. Batteries. Very well. Okay, Trinity, 6.6.2 community service, council grant funding, a letter of support request.
Hello.
Hi, Trinity.
So FCSS is on behalf of the Manning Youth Center Association looking for $5,000 to kind of revamp the youth center space in the basement of the Elks Hall. They have a little bit of a breakdown here on the first page of what they were hoping to spend their money on. Just a quick note that the youth facility should say youth facilitator facility. And that would just partially fund the fees for the youth facilitator to do the programming. Outlined in the letter, where are we? They've got next year, or the full year programming plan, which is 2 programs per week. So that's their initial request. In addition to that, they would like just a general letter of support to use for other grant funding for the space. So nothing project specific, just general renovations and program funding.
After with that, liability insurance.
The Manning Youth Center Association is a nonprofit society, so I would assume they have some form of insurance. I can follow up with them. I can do that.
So we just qualified under the capital, their CCAP grant program. It's passed now. So.
No, because it's only $5,000. So it's requests for over $10,000. And the reason this came to council is because they initially applied to the North Recreation Board. However, they no longer have funds to dispense for the year. And as outlined in the policy, if they don't have the funds, they're supposed to direct the application to council for funding consideration.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask if they.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got back from vacation.
They applied from the town manual also funding.
I have not heard from them if they have or not applied to the town Manning. I can also follow up with that as well.
So they never provided any budget, just itemize what they want.
Just itemize what they wanted to kick off with, basically. And just to clarify, I did ask if FCSS is doing this, how they're involved, because we do fund FCSS. They're just simply helping apply for things and helping with the project. So we're not funding FCSS to do this. We are funding it. We would be funding the Manning Youth Center Association itself. Megan at FCSS is just helping with the project.
Separate organizations.
Yeah, separate.
You know how many kids attend?
I do not. If I remember correctly, I believe the youth center went on a hiatus for a little bit.
I think they're just firing.
They're just refiring up, yeah. Yeah. So the basement needs a little bit of a update to be able to do their programming and whatnot. Megan did say that she would like to be able to also rent out the youth center basement to generate some income as well for other community groups, organizations that have kids like Girl Guides or hockey or other community groups within the region that serve kids or do kids programming. Then there's a kind of a dedicated kid space that they can use and rent that has everything that they need. Unfortunately, the kids programming space at the library is actually quite small, so you can only fit like, I would say probably 10 adults in there. So, you know, you have a really popular kids program that requires a lot of space. You're not necessarily going to be able to fit in the kids programming room in the library. So they have a plan to also generate some income as well.
So I see your next item is the rec board. When does that get replenished again? Is that a calendar year? But the funds are all dispersed.
The end of their fiscal year, and I can't remember when their fiscal year is off the top of my head, but they usually apply in February, I believe, is when they apply.
To me, this is where that should probably go. Yeah,
Yeah, so they wouldn't be able to apply to the rec board until their next fiscal year in 2026. So the rec board has no funds for the remainder of
so
2025.
they want to do this, updating this project straight away.
Yes.
So could we bridge them until we get rec board funding? Because I don't know. That's why we fund the rec program, right? Is for exactly for projects like this.
Yeah, so just part of the policy, if they run out of funds, applications get directed to us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I was like looking through the list too, and I made a note on mine, that I was thinking like maybe like 2,500 to bridge them through, and I mean, that would get some of the things off their list, and it would be something.
Something to get them started.
I mean,
I think anything that involves youth is important. We need to keep that going, and if they're revitalizing it, like, that's huge. I mean, I see on the mental health task force what's happening in Peace River with their struggle, and it shows in a community.
Yeah, and that's highlighted in their letter as well, is that, they were trying to address some loneliness, mental health among youth, especially youth that are unable to participate in organized sports.
Well,
Because
and
it's a
especially we're
barrier.
going into summer now when schools are conduits, and these kids are going to lose that conduit right away for summer, and lots of kids don't have anything else, so. I'm prepared to put a motion that we donate 2,500 from council grants.
We bump it up 3. And
Jared's gonna let 30,000. Your motion.
I can change it to 3,000, sold.
So, and
Will be a collaborative motion here.
I just, we've got to bear in mind that the town maybe should have the responsibility to help fund this, and maybe corporate, maybe.
Well, and that was going to be my next point. I think we bring it up tonight and just
Yep.
tell them that we're really passionate about it and we think it's important, and
But I mean, I know like Richardson, for example, they have all sorts of money for minor hockey and different these things. If they approach them.
I do believe Megan is looking into other grant funding avenues.
So, she might get more than her 5,000 if she reaches out to the right people. Pardon me?
He will, for that. He'll get more.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
they'll need more than that.
Okay, I have a motion to grant 2,000 from council grants. Any further discussion?
We have to include, just
Yeah.
letter of support in the motion as well.
Pardon me?
We have
The
to.
letter of support is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's already in there.
Oh, there we go.
All in favor? It's carried. Okay, so that one's off, and then now the North Rec Board donations.
Yeah, this one is short and sweet, just two pages, well, technically one page, because the second page is just signatures. So they dispersed just over $64,000 within the time period of January to April. They have received a request of $93,250. The Mighty Moose Band silent auction donation request amount is empty because it is just a letter. They didn't actually put in a request of a specific amount, so not sure how to assign a value to something that doesn't exist. Yes.
Okay, question, just so we already fund FCSS from the municipality. Why is there 3 FCSS fundings from the rec facility side on FCSS beyond?
So these are programming events. So it is my understanding we give FCSS operating funds. How we classify operating funds in the agreement, I don't know.
That only includes program funding.
Is that how it is in the agreements? So historically, they have funded FCSS programming.
Because now we're double funding FCSS.
No,
Yes.
not sort of. But they made the test for me. I mean, this when I used to help mom, I don't know what that ever said. When my
No,
But we're on the,
record funding, non-record funding.
So, yeah, so we have the list in front of us, and we'll all,
Yep.
it's on the screens there, so you can see what it all went. I mean, you can go through it if you want, but,
if you have any questions or anything
well,
of the,
just, again, these are, Linda sits on the board, never, these are all kind of arbitrarily awarded without any, and I think we're gonna review our record policy. Right?
Well, just an update on that, so both rec boards are entities on their own legal entities, they're not for profits. So they can determine their own terms of reference, they don't have to follow our terms of reference, but we can definitely decide if we want to fund that terms of reference or not. So, or whether the council would rather take it in-house and do it yourselves.
Well, we do have guidelines from the county, like what should we fund?
within the
So we
policy,
funded-
yes.
Yeah, within the policy, we have.
Yes.
But like on some of these, I don't think they qualify.
So now they'll have nothing until 2026 to disperse.
For the next fiscal year, correct?
I don't, I just. Little uncomfortable how it's dispersed sometimes, right? Yeah. But I mean, it's spent for this year, so we're not changing up, it's just a report on it, right? This is not.
Yes, yeah, this is funds that have been dispersed already.
Okay, any questions?
Question, did you attend any of the meetings where they decided to disperse or give the money out?
I've never been invited to a meeting because there hasn't been a meeting. You do it by email.
But do you get an input in emails or?
I've tried and it's up to the board. You know, thank you for your input, whatever. I just found it, you know, I realize they're all busy. Because it is people that are on that board, they're just as busy as the rest of us, our lives and everything else. But I've never seen a meeting.
But you should still get the emails, like you should be
I have
included.
been getting the emails, and that's the only way they've had me. No one really.
No, that's fine.
There's no in-person.
But there's no input,
So
I've never seen anybody to say reply to it, other than myself.
Right, so that's, I mean, does email say,
This-
we're considering funding.
Or for the youth,
We're
you know.
considering funding the Manning Legion for $10,000, what do you think about that? Do you get any input into
I
that?
can say something. But it doesn't matter.
It's already
like my
decided.
boy. Well, have to vote.
Like, I don't know who's all on the board, is Austin and
The
Ryan
last
Gearing?
one I just looked at, there was only 3 or 4.
Yeah, Albert's the one that runs it, right?
You get to see the applications. Like you
She'll
get
send
them.
she'll send us a,
Attachment,
yeah, but
A
what
PDF.
you're asking for.
and then we get the copies of the applications
Yeah,
when they do the annual application for funds, they provide a copy of all the
I've never
applications.
seen the one for this gas stove for the mall, sorry,
For the which one, sorry?
at the Hotchkiss community.
Okay, so I do have a copy of that.
But you all get it just for the records, right? You don't have any input on it either.
No, it's just for us for record keeping, and
Just so you can get this reported.
so I can make the report, yeah.
So just a quick question. So I know like, for CCAP money, if they get CCAP, they can't come back and things like that. Does that work for the rec board funding too? Like if they get CCAP money?
Correct, they can't get funding from a rec board and CCAP, it's one or the other.
For one project, I mean.
For the same project,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Just cause like I see a few on here and I'm like, oh, we've historically done CCAP to them, right? So just wondered.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why the rec board can dispense up to $10,000 is my understanding from way back when the
So they
when
can
the
get,
policy was
they
made.
can get rec board and CCAP as long as it's not the same project.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a gap filler in there when CCAP is not open, because we only have that once per year, correct, right?
Okay, well, thanks for the report. Any more questions on it? Otherwise, get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the rec board report, North rec board report.
I'll move.
Okay, Councillor Sinski, all in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Getting to the end here. Info package. That was one addition. Any comments out of it?
No, you probably all saw it already. It's the first traffic light in Manning and I said if there's one more, then I'm out of here.
It's too big city for you. That's too much city life.
Got two to go through. There's one in Hotchkiss Street.
It is one of those.
Then pilot vehicles and traffic was a mess this morning, actually. Did you ever figure what happened? Was there an accident?
Yes,
Yeah.
DUI.
He was going this way and the passenger side got hit and was up against the railing. going that way.
On Hotchkiss Bridge?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, you think it's bad now? Probably 100 and some vehicles sitting there waiting for over an hour. That get really long, and then people still trying to pass. When it says 50, it's pretty fast.
Well, it's progress.
Yeah.
Okay, so just get a motion to accept the info package for information.
I would
Councillor Augustine, all in favor? It's carried. Open mic, Dan?
Yeah, when I was driving up here this morning, I was listening to CBC radio. And I heard that the nuclear project is gonna have 5 reactors, but I'm understanding it's 4, that is correct, right?
I have no idea where they get their information from. I heard that too. They actually called me.
Oh,
I made a quote there and they said, consultation process has started. These aren't consultations. These are just town hall information meetings, right? So yeah, I can't control what they broadcast, but yeah, I mean, you can check in with Energy Alberta, what they're proposing, but I understood it was 4 reactors too, so.
yeah.
Well, I was just reading the piece here, it's 2 to 4, so.
Yeah.
You know, 2 to 4.
I don't know, maybe they added them together and subtracted 1 and 5, I don't know.
They changed their mind.
or.
Yeah. Anything else now?
So, yeah, I just want to confirm that the purple air, there's no cost for the installment for these devices, is that correct?
Yep.
But they decide where they go?
They were asking our input for where we would have power and Wi-Fi capabilities to install them.
Oh, okay, so it has to have specific part.
Yes.
There is cost for them.
Yeah, but Pram covers that cost.
And they do the labor and everything?
They'll come and put them in and look after them and monitor them, and then it'll be on the live feed on the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
These
That's it.
these river library has their monitor there.
Mhm.
And they also have
The lantern.
the lighting.
Okay, so, decision on delegations, well, Dixonville Library, I guess we wait and see if PLP Library Systems PLS reaches out for a letter of support. And then wait and see on the 26th of June, what kind of direction they go, so there's really no response to them, we'll wait for them. And then, the delegation is strictly information, so no response required there. So we have a couple in camera items. Do we want to take a break? We got time. The meeting starts what, 5:30? So let's take a break and then we'll go on camera and Dan, you can,